Good afternoon. Welcome to the Panama City Commission meeting for April 28th at 4:30 p.m. We're going to start out with an opening prayer from Dr. Steve Taylor, Senior Pastor of Emerald Coast Fellowship, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance led by Commissioner Brian Granger. Please rise.
Let's pray. Heavenly Father, we are grateful to be able to ask for your wisdom in meetings such as this. I thank you for all the public servants that are seeking your wisdom to be able to act justly and in accordance with the best interest of our community. I'm thankful for them. Lord, I pray that you would continue to allow our community to progress. We are thankful for your provision in the last years and months and for all the progress that we see around. In light of all the things that are discussed today, I pray we would be able to continue to keep in mind so much progress that's been made. Father, we love you. We trust you. We ask these things in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Amen. You'll join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please call the roll.
Mayor Branch.
Present.
Commissioner Street.
Here.
Commissioner Hughes. He's not here at this time.
I'm not aware of his status enough.
Commissioner Lucas.
Present.
Commissioner Granger.
Present.
Mayor, you have a quorum.
You've received the meeting minutes from April 14th. Do I have a motion to accept?
So moved.
No, second.
And we have a second. Any discussion? Please call the roll.
Commissioner Street.
Yes.
Commissioner Lucas.
Yes.
Commissioner Granger.
Yes.
Mayor Branch.
Yes.
Motion passes 4-0.
Any additions, deletions, or modifications?
None from staff,
Okay.
Mr. Mayor.
Moving on.
All right. Moving into community announcements. May is nearly here, and it's bringing fresh opportunities, also refreshing opportunities, and new possibilities for our community. Sign up for city alerts and receive updates straight to your inbox or smartphone. From our monthly newsletter to road closures, boil water notices, and more, we'll keep you informed year-round. Don't miss a moment. Scan the QR code on the screen or visit panamacity.gov to sign up today. Join us for the Maypole Community Cookout on May 1st, 4:30 to 7:30 p.m. at Robert Mary Kane Park. Celebrate Hill community traditions with the plating of the Maypole, plus games, grilled food, and live DJ music. Bring your family and friends for a free, fun, and meaningful evening. A dedicated ML Corridor Development Workshop will bring together the Commission and City staff to explore practical, coordinated strategies for supporting new development along the MLK Corridor. The workshop will be held Monday, May 4th from 4:30 to 6 p.m. at City Hall in Room 10 on the lower level, with virtual viewing available on the city website. The purpose of the session is to provide the Commission with clear options, build alignment on priorities, and establish shared direction for thoughtful and feasible redevelopment along the MLK Corridor. Test your creativity with our Egg Drop Challenge. Join this Ignite STEM event on Friday, May 8th, 5 to 7 p.m. at the MLK Junior Rec Center. Build a protective egg capsule using provided materials. Food, refreshments, and prizes are included. It's free, but registration is required, limited to the first 25 participants. The Panama City CRA, in partnership with the Incremental Development Alliance, is hosting a small developer meetups to help aspiring and emerging developers learn, connect, and grow through expert-led discussions and networking. The meetups will occur on the third Tuesday of the month through September at MySpace Downtown on 97 Oak Avenue beginning at 5:30 p.m. The next meeting will be May 19th. The City of Panama City is moving forward with the Red Speed Automated Speed Enforcement Program in 11 school zones to improve safety for both students and families. After identifying 4 zones that needed additional signage and flashing lights as requested by the Commission, all locations are now fully equipped and operational. A new 30-day warning period began April 22nd for all 11 zones. During this time, drivers who speed 11 miles per hour over the posted limit in active school zones will receive warnings only. Full enforcement, including the $100 notice of violation, will begin on May 22nd of 2026. For more information about the program, including a list of impacted schools, their school zone hours, and answers to frequently asked questions, visit panamacity.gov. And applications are now open for the Summer 2026 World Changers Neighborhood Improvement Program hosted in partnership with the Panama City CRA. Applications will be accepted through May 31st. Eligible homeowners in the downtown North and the Millville CRA districts can apply online at panamacity.gov. Mr. Mayor, Commissioners, now moving into our quasi-judicial hearings for our meeting this evening. During quasi-judicial proceedings, the Commission will hear evidence and render a decision regarding the matter presented based on the evidence received. The parties before the Commission and the public are entitled to present evidence, such as documents, witnesses, etc., and cross-examine witnesses. All parties and witnesses will be under oath, and the entire proceedings recorded. The Commission is not bound by the strict rules of evidence and may consider any evidence which it deems relevant and trustworthy. Any member of the Commission may ask questions of the parties or of the witnesses. Since quasi-judicial proceedings are legal in nature, everyone is expected to adhere to proper courtroom decorum and etiquette. Any comments or objections should be directed to the mayor. The burden of proof in a quasi-judicial proceeding rests with the applicant. Therefore, the applicant has the opportunity to address the Commission last after all public participation and before the Commission deliberates. Mr. Zimmerman?
Thank you. At this time, for items 6A through 6D, I will swear in the staff who will remain under oath during the entire proceeding. Also, any additional parties that intend to testify or speak during these hearings, if you would also stand. If for some reason you were not sworn and you still want to speak during the public hearing, that's perfectly fine. But when you do come up to speak, at that time, I'll swear you in. But if you know you're going to speak, and staff, if you'd please stand. Do you swear and affirm that the testimony you are about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Thank you. And then also, Commissioners, if there are any ex parte communications, which is communications that you have received outside of this public hearing and upon which you believe you'll rely on in reaching your decision, that you'll need to disclose that at the appropriate time prior to a vote. Thank you.
All right, item number 6A is the second and final of two public hearings on ordinance 3300.1, an ordinance on the voluntary annexation of approximately 2.89 acres of property located at 4620 Highway 390 East and 4622 Highway 390 East. These are parcel IDs 05916-025-010 and parcel ID 05916-010-000. Relevant background information is enclosed in your packet, and staff recommendation to the Director of Development Services is that the City Commission conduct the second and final of two public hearings and approve the ordinance. I'll just note that the development agreement for this property is later in the agenda, and any mention to the term of 15 years in items 6A, B, or C is merely mentioned in passing. The development agreement will be valid for 7 years, and ultimately the development agreement is what is most impactful. Mr. Mayor, item 6A.
Yes, this is a public hearing. If you wish to speak about item 6A, please come forward. Anyone related to 6A, please come forward. Seeing none, I am closing public comments. I will disclose that I spoke briefly to the developer for a moment, but it was just about pleasantries of the project. It wasn't really any details. So I am looking for a motion.
I'll disclose that I had some conversation outside of this as well.
Yeah, I spoke with the developer as well.
Yeah, with the developer's representative, I did.
Yeah.
I'll motion to approve.
And is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Please call the roll.
Commissioner Street?
Yes.
Commissioner Hughes?
Yes.
Commissioner Lucas?
Yes.
Commissioner Granger?
Yes.
Mayor Branch?
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
The Commission has adopted ordinance 3300.1, an ordinance of the city approving the voluntary annexation of 2.89 acres of unincorporated property located at 4620 Highway 390 East and 4622 Highway 390 East into the city as further defined hereinafter, amending the wards and boundaries of the city to include said land and providing for an effective date.
Item 6B is the second and final of two public hearings on ordinance 3300.2, an ordinance amending the future land use map of the city to reflect the land use designation of general commercial for a property located at 4620 Highway 390 East and 4622 Highway 390 East. Parcel ID 05916-025-010 and 05916-010-000. This is the same pieces of property as the prior item. Relevant background information is enclosed in your packet. Staff recommendation through the Director of Development Services is that the Commission conduct the second and final of 2 public hearings and approve the ordinance. As with the prior item, any reference to a 15-year development agreement is not relevant. The agreed-upon development agreement is now at 7 years. Mr. Mayor?
Yes, this is a public hearing. If you wish to speak about item 6B, please come forward. Anyone on 6B? Seeing none, I am closing public comments and looking for a motion.
Motion to approve?
Is there any discussion? Please call the roll.
Commissioner Street?
Yes.
Commissioner Hughes?
Yes.
Commissioner Lucas?
Yes.
Commissioner Granger?
Yes.
Mayor Branch?
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
Commission has adopted ordinance 3300.2, an ordinance amending the comprehensive plan future land use map of the city to reflect a land use designation of general commercial for a parcel of property located at 4620 Highway 390 East and 4622 Highway 390 East, Panama City, Florida, providing for repealer, severability, and effective date.
Item 6C is the second and final of 2 public hearings on ordinance 3300.3, an ordinance amending the zoning map of the city to reflect the zoning designation of General Commercial 2, or GC2, for a property located at 4620 Highway 390 East and 4622 Highway 390 East. Parcel ID 05916-025-010 and 05916-010-000. This is the same pieces of 2 pieces of property as the prior 2 items. Staff recommendation through the Director of Development Services is that the City Commission conduct the second and final of 2 public hearings and approve the ordinance. As with the prior 2 items, any reference to a 15-year development agreement is null and void. This agreement will now be 7 years. Mr. Mayor?
If you would like to speak about item 6C, please come forward. Anyone on 6C? Seeing none, I am closing public comments, looking for a motion.
Motion to approve?
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Please call the roll.
Commissioner Street?
Yes.
Commissioner Hughes?
Yes.
Commissioner Lucas?
Yes.
Commissioner Granger?
Yes.
Mayor Branch?
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
Commission has adopted ordinance 3301, an ordinance zoning a parcel of land located at 2209 9th Street, Panama City. Did I jump ahead?
No, 6C. Should be 6C.
I did. I jumped ahead. Okay. Ordinance 3300.3, an ordinance zoning a parcel of property located at 4620 Highway 390 East and 4622 Highway 390 East, Panama City, Florida, having approximately 2.89 acres, GC2, providing for severability and an effective date.
Item 6D is the second and final of 2 public hearings on ordinance 3301, an ordinance amending the zoning map of the city to reflect a zoning designation of Neighborhood General, or NG, for a property located at 2209 East 9th Street with parcel ID 15915-010-000. Relevant background information is enclosed in your packet, as this is the second hearing. Staff recommendation through the Director of Development Services is that the City Commission conduct the second and final of 2 public hearings and approve the ordinance. Mr. Mayor?
This is a public hearing. If you wish to speak about item 6D, please come forward. Yes, sir.
No, I'm actually here just because if the commission has any questions in regards to it.
Oh, do you have any questions? Are you the applicant? Are you the applicant?
I am the assistant for the applicant.
Okay. Do
He
we have any
was not
questions?
able to attend.
I think you're good, buddy.
Okay, perfect.
We'll call you back up if we
Yeah.
finish our discussion. No worries. Thank you for being here.
Yeah, thanks for being here.
This is a public hearing. If anyone would like to speak, please come forward. Seeing none, I'm closing public comments, looking for a motion. Do I have a motion?
I'll make a
So
motion
moved.
we approve.
Do I have a
He
second?
got me. I'll second that.
Any discussion? Yes, you want to discuss?
I'm good.
Oh, you do want to discuss. Okay, any discussion? None? Please call the roll.
Commissioner Street?
Yes.
Commissioner Hughes?
Yes.
Commissioner Lucas?
Yes.
Commissioner Granger?
Yes.
Mayor Branch?
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
Commission has adopted ordinance 3301, an ordinance zoning a parcel of land located at 2209 9th Street East, Panama City, Florida, having approximately .524 acres, GC, Neighborhood General, providing for severability and providing for an effective date.
Item 7A is the second and final of two public hearings on the approval of the proposed development agreement with Lindsay Crossing PC LLC for a property located at 4620 and 4622 East Highway 390 with parcel ID 05916-025-010 and 05916-010-000. This background information encloses the proposed development agreement between the city and the owner-developer of the property located at 4620 and 4622 East Highway 390. The proposed term of the development agreement has been changed from 15 years to 7 years. The primary purpose of the development agreement is to establish the pattern and intensity of future commercial development on the property and freeze impact fees at the currently assessed rates. The property consists of approximately 2.89 acres and is zoned General Commercial 2 with an underlying future land use of General Commercial. Following documents are enclosed in your packet: the development agreement and any exhibits. Staff recommendation to the Director of Development Services is that the City Commission conduct the second and final of two public hearings and approves the development agreement. Mr. Mayor?
This is a public hearing. If you wish to speak about item 7A, please come forward. Anyone on 7A? Seeing none, I'm closing public comments. I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to approve.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Please call the roll.
Commissioner Street?
Yes.
Commissioner Hughes?
Yes.
Commissioner Lucas?
Yes.
Commissioner Granger?
Yes.
Mayor Branch?
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
Development agreement has been approved.
Yeah.
Item 7B is the second and final of two public hearings on ordinance 3302, an ordinance to vacate and abandon the alleyway and platted easement southeast of the intersection of Mound Avenue and West 21st Street and north of West 20th Court. As background information, the applicant is requesting to vacate an alleyway and platted easement southeast of the intersection of Mound Avenue and West 21st Street, north of West 20th Court, of land designated as city property. The property does not retain any underground utilities or infrastructure. This item was previously reviewed by the Planning Board on March 9th of 2026. The Planning Board recommended approval unanimously. Staff concurs. Relevant background documents are enclosed in your packet. Staff recommendation through the Director of Development Services is that the City Commission conduct the second and final of two public hearings and approve the ordinance. Mr. Mayor?
This is a public hearing. If you wish to speak about item 7C, please come forward. Anyone on 7C? 7B, excuse me, 7B. Seeing none, closing public comments, I will entertain a motion.
Motion to approve. Second.
Any discussion? Please call the roll.
Commissioner Street?
Yes.
Commissioner Hughes?
Yes.
Commissioner Lucas?
Yes.
Commissioner Granger?
Yes.
Mayor Branch?
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
The City Commission has adopted ordinance number 3302, an ordinance vacating and abandoning an alleyway and platted easements located southeast of the intersection of Mound Avenue and West 21st Street, north of West 20th Court, Panama City, Florida, as more particularly hereinafter described, repealing all ordinances in conflict herewith, providing for the severability of any part of this ordinance declared invalid, and providing for an effective date.
Item 7C is the first and only public hearing on the approval of the proposed development agreement with the St. Andrew Bay Yacht Club for a property located at both 218 and 212 Bunkers Cove Road. Parcel IDs 20895-000-000 and 20894-000-000. As background information, enclosed is the proposed development agreement between the city and the owner and developer of the property located at 218 and 212 Bunkers Cove Road. The proposed term of the development agreement is 30 years. The primary purpose of the agreement is to establish the manner in which the St. Andrew Bay Yacht Club will be redeveloped and then operated. The agreement establishes parameters for vehicle, boat, and trailer parking, operation of the sailing center, and potential expansion of the docks and the boat ramp. The property consists of approximately 2.76 acres and is zoned Residential 1 with an underlying future land use of residential. This item was previously reviewed by the Planning Board on April 13th of this year, and the Planning Board recommended approval unanimously. Staff concurs. The following documents are enclosed in your packet: staff analysis, report, and recommendation, the development agreement, and all exhibits. Staff recommendation through the Director of Development Services is that the City Commission conduct the first and only public hearing and approve of the development agreement. Mr. Zimmerman?
I'll mention two things, and then we have Mr. Fuller and Mr. Burker here that were actually present during the Planning Commission public hearing. But two things. The first is that this development agreement is long-term primarily because it not only controls construction, but it also controls operational issues. So as far as how things are operated there on the ground. So that's the reason for the length as far as this goes, and that also it controls construction. And that was the main point that I wanted to make of this. If there's anything else, Mr. Burke can mention it, or it may come up during the discussion. But the other point, though, is that there was, one of the attorneys could not be here today, and so the request is that if there are any changes that the commission would like to see, that the request is to then continue this to a subsequent meeting to give the opportunity for one of the attorneys for one of the neighboring property owners an opportunity to look at it. But if the commission is comfortable in moving ahead today and no changes, then that's why it's here. It's ripe for discussion and action. Thank you.
Yes, this is a public hearing. If you wish to speak about item 7C, please come forward. Yes, sir.
Good afternoon, everyone. Michael Wynn, immediate past Commodore of the St. Andrews Bay Yacht Club, here to speak in support of the development agreement that is before you all. As was indicated on the record by Mr. Zimmerman and by Mr. Hayes with the report from staff, this agreement that is before you represents 2 years of substantive negotiation with our neighbors and with our community partners to ensure that what we build at the St. Andrews Bay Yacht Club is something that continues to be a benefit and an amenity that members of this community can enjoy for generations. It is intended to be something that respects our neighborhood that we all love in the Cove, while ensuring that we are able to provide an operation that does not expand that impact upon its adjoining parties. I'm pleased to say that as of today, I am not aware of any changes that have been requested by any of the parties beyond that, which is in the record that you all have before you. I'll happily answer any questions that you all may have regarding the information that's there. Otherwise, we would ask that you guys approve this as being in the best interest of the St. Andrews Bay Yacht Club and its neighbors in the community. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else want to speak about item 7C? Seeing no more comments on 7C, I am closing public comments. Do I have a motion?
I need to say, I'm going to abstain from this vote. I just need to put that on the record.
I'll motion to approve.
Okay, do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Please call the roll.
Commissioner Street?
Yes.
Commissioner Hughes has abstained. Commissioner Lucas?
Yes.
Commissioner Granger?
Yes.
Mayor Branch?
Yes.
Motion passes 4-0, one abstention.
And Mr. Hughes did talk to me concerning his intention to abstain to avoid even the appearance of an impropriety as far as his relationship to the yacht club.
We are in audience participation. As a reminder, we have a town hall this Saturday from 8 to 10 a.m. where you can talk about anything you want to talk about. We will have a long-form discussion with you on those topics. In these meetings, we only discuss in public participation the agenda items that we have at hand for the rest of the agenda. So if you pick up your agenda packet at the front door, you'll see remaining items 9 through 10 through 11. We can discuss any of the items that are on the remaining agenda. If you have any comments to make on the remaining agenda items, please come forward. Yes, sir, come on down. There's also donuts, and Jonathan brings chicken biscuits on Saturdays too.
And Amavita coffee.
And coffee too. Yes, sir.
Hey, Derek Thomas, 1100 West 10th Street. It's kind of hard. I tried to look at the City Hall meeting from the last one because I had to leave before the very end of it, and I can't find it online.
Which item, Mr. Mayor?
Yeah, which item?
Saying on your last City Hall, you brought up, your advisory panel brought up not adding things to the agenda when, like the 11H, that 11H was not on the agenda.
Are we talking about what's on the agenda? So let me know which agenda item you're discussing so we can.
11H was not on the original agenda online.
Was that not? No, that was on there.
Today online, I was just checking it before I came in here, and that was not, it ended with the adopt a park thing. So you're adding stuff which is not on your agenda, and that's what they discussed at the last meeting, and also your city halls are not being recorded, so it's kind of difficult to.
The town halls get recorded.
Well, it's hard to find on your website. On 9C and D, there's over $500,000 in hometown revitalization projects. I have a list of some of them. I believe it's back from June 24th, 2024 was when this was done. The captain's table was only supposed to be $159,900, and you've raised it up close to 10,000. And along with the other one, my concern with this, it's great that you're doing stuff for the people that live here, or some of the people that live here, but this is $10 million worth of help to specific businesses. And this is just the beginning. It's already been for the Baptist church, for the parking lot. That would be the only thing here that was actually something for the public, that the public could use the parking lot and stuff, but that went from 240 up to like 439. So there's a lot of money being invested in these people's properties. And it's not going to help everybody. The same day that they passed this for $10 million, they added a fee, the fire assessment fee for $10 million onto the tax bill. On the same day that they're giving out $10 million to specific businesses, and these businesses are gonna benefit financially from all of this money being invested in them. I assume these are the local groups, because I've asked to know about the local groups and you won't tell me, but I'm assuming these are, because there's 7 different cases where more than one is listed as completely different repairs and the price is exactly the same. And there's 3 different ones on this list. It's only 4 pages long, but about 50 things. 3 of them, there's 3 different businesses that are exactly the same. And it seems like you're just singling out specific rich people and giving them tons of money. What about the rest of us?
Thank you. As a background, that was a state program that they rolled out related to businesses that already owned their buildings before Hurricane Michael, and all the above. And the fire tax is $6.5 million. I don't know where the $10 million came from.
I don't either. And just as a reminder, Ms. Aldridge and one of our consultants literally went door to door inside eligible areas to make folks aware of the HRP grant.
Yes, sir.
11H is on the agenda online. There is no backup. Maybe that's.
Yes, sir.
George Carruthers, 1702 West Beach Drive. What am I doing here today? Well, this will be a little bit of a history class. I wish to address agenda item 11A, the transfer of grant funds. This agenda item looks fairly innocuous, but has been addressed at numerous commission meetings some time ago. The grant originated as the FDOT Lindenwood Drive Reconstruction Project, also referred to as LPAT. Documentation suggests that this grant has been repurposed at least 7 times, including multiple time extensions. Yes, I use the word repurposed because that's how the city has defined it. So it now ends up in front of the commission in search of at least 3 favorable votes to move forward. The accounting codes for this grant are no different than the very same accounting codes for the Beach Drive Multi-Use Path Grant. Many others and I have stood before you and advising that the Beach Drive grant should also be repurposed. As a matter of fact, several of you have received very in-depth briefings on the repurposing process. Now you know how it's done, as evidenced by today's referendum. Repurposing the Beach Drive grant also needs to be presented to this commission. Repurpose the remaining grant money and put the path on 11th Street where it better serves Oakland Terrace, Palm Bay, Academy, the Bay County Library, the Government Center, Jinks Middle School, apartment complexes and residences. It can then connect to the TPO path that goes to the old train station. 11th Street is safer with 5,900 vehicles per day versus Beach Drive with over 13,400 vehicles a day. This is not a novel idea, as it was floated by Dover Coal. The latest Beach Drive path design is terrible, with most of the path right along the curb of this busy roadway, and a considerable portion is no more than 5 feet wide, which is the same as the sidewalk on the other side of the road, but that has a grass buffer. Repurposing is not a complicated process. Beach Drive is mired in a standoff. Repurpose the grant and use the funds elsewhere for the good of the community. That's what you are elected to do.
Yes, sir, thank you. Jonathan, can you clarify the number 7 transfers?
Yes, so that number 7, not really sure where that, it's been said by multiple folks, not just Mr. Carruthers, but we received at one time, he is correct, in September of 2019 for the Lindenwood project. But due to some language that was left in, like page 37 out of 80, it was not eligible. In December rather, of 2021, we requested it get moved to the 8th Street project. And that's where it's been until the final design, and now we're here before you today to ask for the budget transfer. So only moved at one time. That was in December of 2021. Now, yes, there was conversations over years of where else we might actually use this grant, but we never formally moved it anywhere other than from Lindenwood to the 8th Street infrastructure sewer main project over in eastern Panama City. And again, the difference is this is a grant, and we do have flexibility with grants, but the Beach Drive multi-use sidewalk is a state appropriation. It's only being administered like a grant from a financial tracking and oversight purpose, but it is not a grant. So that's all, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Anyone else related to?
If I may, so Jonathan, that means that we're just moving it from one account to another in terms of, it's already, construction's underway?
No, sir, it's not. But y'all did vote to award the contract for the 8th Street project, and we have a meeting, Commissioner Lucas and I did, in a couple of weeks. So construction is imminent, but actually not physically underway just yet.
Okay.
Yes, sir. What are we talking about today, sir?
Jimmy Sosowski, 1208 Cherry. This has to do with that grant money also. How much is left of that money for Beach Drive? And can it, what's the plan for it? Are y'all gonna build it? Yes or no? If you're not, let's do something with that money. I mean, my gosh, y'all are sitting on a ton of money. If it was in your checkbook, you'd be wanting to do something with it. It seems like this commission does not want to do anything with that money no matter what. I can't believe it. There's a lot of needs in this town, a lot of sidewalks that need doing. Why are we sitting on the money and not repurposing it? I don't understand. And the other thing, you could at least maybe put that money in the reserve fund, because I heard there's a lot of controversy going on with it. Why can't you put it in the reserves for something? We need the money. We don't need it sitting there and eventually it's going to disappear. The only people that have been making money on it is Burke and Blue and Forehand. They have milked that thing to death. So why can't we do something with that money? Thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Anyone else want to speak today? Yes, ma'am. Come on down.
While she's coming down, Mr. Mayor, Commissioners, also as a reminder, the specific language for the Beach Drive multi-use sidewalk appropriation calls for a waterfront path. So 11th Street, any other location like that would not meet that requirement.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
Pray all are doing fine today. I want to give a kudos first. I wish to commend the commissioners and the mayor. What?
Can you state your name?
You're surprised I'm being nice? I'm always nice. Brenda Lewis Williams, 2748 Oakhammock Drive, 32401, for being in attendance of the reopening, rededication of Henry A. Davis Park last weekend. Commissioner Lucas for officiating. You did a wonderful job, and many of the city officials showed up for that. And that was, I would also like to commend and give Michelle Bryant her kudos. She spent 4 years of her life getting that park back on track. And so she is, you all need to give her a little plaque or something. But, say what?
You embarrassed her. She's shaking her head.
I always embarrass her. Ain't no big thing. And I wish to speak to 11G. There has been, you're going to have a discussion of parks. There has been a form of adopt a parks, not officially. Chris Kramer Chevrolet I understand, has donated $18,000 to maybe $20,000 for Oakland Terrace. And this past Sunday, as I was made aware of from one of my sources, that, what's the name of it? North Star. And I remember when that church started well over 20 some odd years ago, 30 years probably. But they have committed to putting up basketball courts at Robert Mary Cain Oak Grove. So that is, your church is to be commended, Josh, for that. And that is wonderful. There's a worship pastor over there, Wendell Rollerson, dynamic young man who put that forth to the church, from my understanding. And the other point I wish to make is 11H. I really don't see why we're going to have discussion on this here. This should be a town hall discussion. And so my request is to table this and make it a town hall discussion and then bring it back at a later date. Because that virtual thing that you all do circumvents everything. And folks are not well informed, they have no idea what's going on, etc. So that is my request, that this be tabled to town hall, and then you can bring it back later.
Yes, ma'am, thank you. Anyone else like to speak today? Yes, ma'am.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Commissioners. Patty Sunday, 1115 Fairland. I want to piggyback on what Ms. Brenda said. I'm excited to see 11H on here. I was able to attend that. I thought it was wonderful. I'm unclear if that's the same thing that Jonathan just advertised on May 4th, if that's a cousin of this, the upcoming workshop. No, it's not this. Okay, so kind of the same thing. My encouragement and refreshing comment would be on 11H to think big and creatively. I emailed y'all an article today from the Urban Land Institute to think beyond the boundaries. Just go crazy thinking, just really creative, because you can always pull that back later. And this is that time to do that. The other refreshing comment I have is thank you, administrative folks, whoever's getting this out early. I notice it comes out about 5 days now, which gives me time to go through it with my other responsibilities and travel, so I can be helpful or call my commissioners and get clarification. That has been just a huge help. Excuse me. Last thing is my husband is a confirmed Catholic and we worship at St. John's, so I'm very excited to see the event on the consent agenda. A lot of former mayors also attend there, and mayors from other cities. It's a very happy congregation, so I hope you will approve it. Thank you.
Ma'am, thank you. Anyone else like to speak today? Yes, ma'am, come on down. Michelle Bryant, everybody.
She gets me every time. Michelle Bryant, 409 East 9th Street. Kind of piggybacking off of the last two participants that came up here. 11G, as you guys know, that has been a baby of mine, as well as Michelle Zirkle when she was a part of the PCR department. I've shared my feedback with you guys on that, so I hope that you guys can take that feedback and put this to motion. As I ride down 231, I see where there's adopted roads, there's other areas that have adopted parks, so I really am excited to see this cross the finish line. The last one, the discussion on the virtual workshop. Thank you guys, one, for hosting that workshop. I learned a lot about the resources that are available throughout our city to help various people when it comes to housing solutions. In addition to learning a lot, I realized there's a lot of issues in this city. And unfortunately, the city of Panama City can't handle all of those issues. It wasn't meant for you guys to handle all those issues. So hopefully in these discussions that you guys continue with the housing department, I learned a lot about the issues or the upgrade, for the lack of a better word, of the infill program. As I took that information and I spoke with Sheila, I spoke with people in the community, and they were absolutely unaware of the infill program. And so what I would say, as you guys have this discussion and look for direction, I ask, kind of similar to what Ms. Brenda said, bring the community to the meeting, where this is a community roundtable where, one, they actually learn what resources and services that the city offers. Literally today I got an email and she had no idea that the housing department assisted people with rental assistance. She was looking for support, single mom, works 2 jobs, and was like, is there any resources to help with rental assistance? And of course, the city of Panama City has that department, and hopefully she'll get the help that she needs. So with that, I just ask if for this upcoming virtual workshop that is open for citizens in the city of Panama City to bring their feedback, their thoughts, as a previous meeting brought those nonprofits with their needs and how they're helping people, let's actually bring the people they're helping or could potentially be helping to the table. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am. Let us know which item you're speaking on.
Good evening. My name is Jared Blanchard Towns. I'm representing St. John's here for the Eucharistic procession. So if there's, for item 9B, it's my first time ever doing this, so if you have any questions for me or anything, is this when do you have any questions or?
Totally. I don't have any questions related
anything?
to 9B.
Any information you need?
Yeah, that's great. Thank you.
Okay.
We're good. You're great. Thanks
Awesome.
for coming.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Anyone else want to speak about remaining agenda items? Okay, closing public comments. We're moving to the consent agenda.
Motion we approve.
Second.
Any discussion? Please call the roll.
Commissioner Street?
Yes.
Commissioner Hughes?
Yes.
Commissioner Lucas?
Yes.
Commissioner Granger?
Yes.
Mayor Branch?
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
We are on the commissioner's report. Commissioner Granger, you are up.
Thank you, thank you. I'll try to keep this brief. You've seen my memo. It basically boils down to that where we can, I'd like to standardize how we do things. I laid out in several, and if anybody doesn't have a copy of that, there should still be copies out in the foyer. But kind of wanted to just put that in front of y'all and not necessarily decide anything today, but look to whether or not we should change this next meeting. But I figured, kind of started to push it because some of the board members are coming up, and I didn't want to have this kind of limbo. It's not fair to them, if that makes sense. But out of the document that was provided to you, there's two that I highlighted yellow. One is the Architecture Review Board, and then the other is the Port Authority Board. And since both of those are 5 members and the entirety of those boards are appointed by this body, then what I'm requesting is that we treat it like we treat the other boards, that we have the entirety of it as well. So boards that were left out for reasons. If you kind of look through it, you'll see that some of those boards have, or we appoint 2 or 3 of them, and then they internally appoint 2 more or so. It just depends on which board it is. And one of the other things that I want for us to look at, and I'd like to kind of just, again, we can't talk about these kinds of things outside of this meeting, right, or outside of a public meeting. We have cemeteries, and those cemeteries are not, they're being taken care of out of the general fund. And I think there's a better way for us to take care of the cemeteries, and probably to a standard by which another board, we could establish a cemetery board, which we have, but they all ultimately passed away. Yeah. So
he's here the rest of the day.
But the idea there is to create a trust fund.
Highly qualified.
Yeah. Thank you. To create a trust fund for.
He'll be here all night, folks.
Yeah. So to create a trust fund, sell one of the city properties, take a portion of that money, if not all that money, and drop it into a trust fund just for cemeteries. And then you have to create a board for that trust fund. Well, I don't know about y'all, but I don't want to be on another board, right? That
the same people, so we can hand that off to some folks who really want to volunteer and manage that money and take care of the cemeteries. And I know y'all all got the email that I got, and we get these emails for the cemetery stuff. We get these kind of sporadically, but they're never warm. It's always, my loved one has a grave in whichever cemetery, and there's things that are happening there, or they're not, it's not being mowed or what have you. Or there was one that was open at one point in time. And so I think having a specific board for that through a trust fund would be very beneficial.
I like both the ideas. So again, this is just for boards that we appoint to have 5 people on them?
Yes.
So not the DIB?
No, the DIB, I think, that one is the mayor appoints, and then we, yay or nay it.
I can see that one being half commissioner of the ward, half mayor appointed.
I'm fine,
I like the premise in general. I like the premise in general that when you get elected, you're able to select a person that potentially carries your vision into that board as well, versus us being on all these different boards. We're on a lot of boards.
How would you implement the 2 coming up when you draw straws of who
Thunderdome.
I would be fine going last. Like,
I'm fair, but-
or maybe going first if that's the non-preferred. I don't have a preference. We figured this out in the past with the planning board. We did this with the planning board.
It was a little bit of a shakeup, but not too much.
Yeah, a little bit, but.
Well, the one thing about the Port Authority is their terms are defined by the Florida legislature, so I don't think we can actually switch until they come available.
Yeah, so then it's an assignment.
So it's a little different than what we did with the planning board where it aligns with our terms. If we do it with the Port Authority, it will align with whatever their term was and then whatever that assigned seat is. So it could be that, somebody doesn't get to a point during their term, if that makes sense.
Okay.
Same, especially with the mayor's position, it could be once every 2 terms that somebody would get appointed. So just something to think about. I do agree with the cemetery board piece. Another concept we looked at one time was, basically internment fees, which is basically when a grave gets opened, it goes into a trust fund. That is how most cemeteries, if you've ever been around the country, at college, one of the most beautiful cemeteries I've ever seen. It was run through it. It was just gorgeous. It was like a park is what it was. But those don't get there with just like general fund dollars. They're trusts that have been established that fund them perpetually through the years. So
The other problem with internment fees, which would be a great, I looked into that as well, is that, and this is just for the benefit of the public, but internment fees are basically where you pay money to open up a grave. And what I mean by that is nobody's buried there yet. They go, they dig it, and you pay, the family usually pays a fee, and that money then goes on to the perpetual care of that cemetery. The problem that we have is that we don't have many
open lots
left. So to go internment fees,
Yeah,
you're really, it's like maybe
yeah.
4 families or 5 families total would wind up paying internment fees, and then now you have just a very small amount of money, and it doesn't really fund the whole thing. So anyway, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
no, it's true. We should have started it yesterday if that was the only source that we were going to use.
So, Commissioner Granger, thank you for bringing this forward. My word of the year is process, and you have brought us a process to address boards and concerns, and so I appreciate that. I would ask that as we are considering this, that we consider reviving the Martin Luther King Jr. Advisory Board. There was a board at one time. And inasmuch as that facility can gain from having a board that works with the staff, particularly in funding opportunities and sponsorships. We've talked about it, but we haven't developed a process to actually bring in funding, and there are folks who are standing ready to support the Martin Luther King Recreation Center. I've talked to several foundations and businesses that are saying, we're just waiting on you city to tell us. And perhaps I think that would be a role for our Martin Luther King Jr. Advisory Board to work with the city to do that. We've got a wonderful year we've started, and I don't want us to see a downturn because of funding as we move forward in years to come. Would also like us to look at Downtown North and Millville, as those are the two CRA districts that do not have a community organization partner. Downtown has the DIB, St. Andrews has the Historic St. Andrew Waterfront Partnership, and I think it's incumbent of us to look at a process for engaging citizens in those areas. They did have them over the years, many things happen, but we've got two districts that have them and two that don't. And lastly, on the cemetery board, I think this is an opportunity for us to revisit how we got established with some cemeteries in the cities that are under city direction and management, while others are not. And I would ask if our attorney could go back and give us a report on how we ended up with some cemeteries that the city takes responsibility for, but other cemeteries are not in that under that same management approach. That's all I got.
So to your MLK thing, with that board, because I've got some people that want to give money as well. So if we created that board, would they go through that board to give money, or are they going to come to us, you think? They come up with that idea.
Ultimately, we have a fund,
Right.
a nonprofit that the monies can go to. We just don't have a group that's dedicated to that. And I think this group would be an opportunity for us to establish something like that.
That's a great idea.
What else do you need from us to move forward?
Well, I think the commissioner was looking for feedback. His request is to bring this back on the May 12th meeting.
I think we all said we like it.
Okay, all right. Well, I just want to make sure.
Yeah, I
we're all
just
on
want to
same
know
page.
the
Do you need a
appointment
vote on that?
structure with
Do you need a vote on, hey, we want to see a path forward in the next 30 days, 45 days, 60 days? You want to vote on it?
Well, for what specifically?
To find a path forward with the boards of the 5 appointees, and what documents we have to change, do you need to vote on anything?
For the cemetery one, because that one would be a trust fund style board, but we would need to set that up. We would also need to identify funding sources for it. I think, I mean, the city has some property I think could be sold, and that property then could be used to fund, as a seed money.
So how about staff, 60 days, they come back with a plan for the cemetery trust fund board idea? And,
All right.
yeah?
Does
So-
the port,
I don't know what's reasonable.
does that fall into the 60 days?
No,
Those
no.
two that are coming up, Josh, can we,
I mean, the two coming up, there's a chance to reappoint, appoint new, that
Right.
those exist. I think my only question is, how do you get a sequence of appointees by individuals when it doesn't align
I
with
know,
their term?
mayor first.
You just.
Give me
Of
some.
course. I would actually, I don't have
Or
a problem with
ladies
that.
first.
But, I mean, it tells you and this was not meant to be any kind of, so the Board of Architects, that's a pretty easy one because there's no term limits.
Yeah, I'm
The,
comfortable doing that one tomorrow if we want to.
The Panama City Port Authority has a term of 4 years, and then they have to be unanimously revoted back in after 8 years. And so I don't know who the next one coming up is, but I'm pretty sure staff could figure that out for us.
It's Mr. Hollinsworth.
I don't have a problem with moving forward like that, but what I would like to see is each one of these positions be assigned a number or an M. And then that way, it's, as they come up, then you know that appointment is for that commissioner award.
Is there a reason why we wouldn't do the Panama City Housing Authority the same way?
Yes, and the Panama City Housing Authority is because they have a tenant commissioner. So there's only 4 there. And then they have somebody who has to live there, I believe that's by HUD rules and regulations.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, well,
So-
then drop my appointment off of that one, so it's just the commissioners.
And then you'll take the tenant one. So,
I'll just move.
So what I was looking for when I was drafting this up is I was looking for boards that were similar, because like when you look at the Civil Service Board, and we appoint 2 of them, the city then elects 2, and then the 5th member is by the board itself. So that gets very kind of complicated, and I didn't really want to.
yeah, here's my only feedback on the Port Authority. It is an operating budgetary board. It is different than any other board that we have.
Yeah.
When we go without an executive director, one of them has to step up and be that. I mean, like, it's not a scenario of, hey, you're an advisory, you're an actual physically in control of what happens. So just keep that in mind as we go forward. I mean, I think that is kind of, it's different than even architecture boards. A lot of these architects guys, I love them to death, but, somebody's not getting, somebody could shut down shipping, is basically what I'm trying to say. There's a lot of jobs that are also associated with this board and that kind of thing.
Huge economic impact.
So, yeah.
So my goal here is not to upset the Port Authority or not to, change anything out there immediately. That's not the goal here. The goal here was to align very similarly to how the planning board is aligned, where you have the person that we get to decide who do we want to have represent our specific ward on that board, and move forward. That's really all.
Josh's point, though, we set it up so that on the planning board, they run with us.
Yeah.
So when we're gone, so is that planning board member. So that'd have to be a little bit different than before, right?
I mean, it was basically whenever they come up, whenever they would come up, and then you would decide whether or not you'd want to, retain that person if they want to retain, or decide if you wanted to have somebody else. Is what it was
Can
down to.
staff just bring us options by the next meeting for the boards?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, let's just do that.
Would like some feedback from you all about the cemetery board and addressing that there are cemeteries that have the same problem. It's just that we as a city made a determination many decades ago which ones the city would have under its management control, and the others are in likewise dire straits. So your thoughts about...
Is there an example of which one you're kind of thinking, Janice?
So when we look at the cemeteries, Hillside, Redwood, and now so Hillside is at capacity. And Redwood has capacity concerns as well as concerns regarding property lines and so forth.
So I think Hills, Hills has a trust fund, I believe. I believe they've actually got one that's established.
I don't know if I call it a trust fund, but there
Okay.
is an organized group with some funding.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like we need a research spike, and the staff comes back to us with how we got here, how to move forward, we want our cemeteries to be kept up, and how we do it.
I'm open to solving the issue for not just for us, but for
yes,
kind of long term. I mean, death is a part of life, unfortunately, and so you got to have someplace to go, and not everybody wants to be cremated.
Well, and roughly how much money it would take in a trust fund to fund them perpetually as well?
Yeah.
500 grand, 5 million, 50 million, I have no idea.
Yes, so you can, once you figure out how many acreages you're looking at, because I looked into that. Once you figure out how much acreage is, it sounds like there may be more than what we currently have that needs to get taken care of. So I don't know exactly what that number is, but I was aiming for $500,000 for seed money is what I was aiming for. That would cover down on the large 3 cemeteries that the city has, where you can fund the maintenance of it out of just the interest.
And we could always have a 5-year plan to get to a point that funds them. It doesn't have to happen tomorrow.
Yeah.
But as long as there's a plan, we're working the plan, and we don't pass it up, kick the can down the road.
Okay, well, I'll motion that we ask staff to research and come back to us on what actions, history report on the cemeteries, how they came to be, underneath the city, and what actions and steps that they would recommend that we move forward, about how much should we be looking at to seed those. And also for the MLK Junior Advisory Board, what would that look like? Are they advisory, or are they managing the money? What either
Some options.
Just give us options on what either one of those would look like. And yeah, 60 days, is that good? Okay, within 60 days.
I'll second that.
All right, any discussion?
So that would be the second meeting of June, achievable. One question was asked, I don't know if it was clearly answered. The answer is yes. Eventually, we could get with the Port Authority the same way you've done the planning board. It's just going to take a little bit longer.
Yeah.
You can't do it as quickly, just, yeah.
So we're adding a plan for that as well?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yeah, I had a plan for that as well.
Perfect. Please call the roll.
Commissioner Street?
Yes.
Commissioner Hughes?
Yes.
Commissioner Lucas?
Yes.
Commissioner Granger?
Yes,
Mayor Branch?
Yes,
Motion passes 5-0.
thank you.
we are under the city manager. 11A.
Yes, sir. Item 11A is consideration of approval of Budget Amendment Resolution 20260428.1 to transfer grant funds. As background information, the Florida Department of Transportation has approved an amendment to grant agreement number 44587-1-54-01. These funds were previously budgeted within the general fund grant, but will now be transferred and expended through the Utilities Capital Projects Fund. Staff recommendation through the Director of Public Works is that the Commission approve this request and the Budget Amendment Resolution. Mr. Mayor?
I will entertain a motion.
Motion to approve?
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Please call the roll.
Commissioner Street?
Yes.
Commissioner Hughes?
Yes.
Commissioner Lucas?
Yes.
Commissioner Granger?
Yes.
Mayor Branch?
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
And I'll just point out, we have a public meeting on this project set for May 14th, so exciting. Item 11B is consideration to approve budget.
I would like to read the title.
Sorry, I was
That's fine.
testing you, Mr. Zimmerman.
Resolution 2026-0428.1, a resolution providing for the budgeting of capital funds.
Item 11B is consideration to approve Budget Amendment Resolution 20260428.2 to accept a donation from the Kramer family for Mid-City Baseball Field at Oakland Terrace in the amount of $18,005.00. As background information, the Kramer family generously contributed $18,005.00 to support renovations at the Mid-City Baseball Field at Oakland Terrace, specifically for a new scoreboard and 2 shade cells above the dugout areas. Both the scoreboard and shade cells have now been successfully installed. The city initially covered the expenses for these items, and the Kramer family has since reimbursed the city. Staff recommendation through the Director of Parks, Culture, and Recreation is that the Commission approve this request and the Budget Amendment Resolution. Mr. Mayor?
I will entertain a motion to accept.
A motion to accept and say thank you.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
Thank you.
Thank you, Kramer family. Please call the roll.
Commissioner Street?
Yes.
Commissioner Hughes?
Yes.
Commissioner Lucas?
Yes.
Commissioner Granger?
Yes.
Mayor Branch?
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
Resolution number 2026-0428.2, a resolution providing for the amendment of the approved fiscal year 2025-26 budget to accept and expend funds donated by the Kramer family for Mid-City Baseball Field at Oakland Terrace Park.
Item 11C is consideration to approve the task order from Dewberry Engineers teamed with Half Associates to provide engineering design services on 32 of the 287 FEMA road segments referred to as FEMA Roads Group A, and to approve Budget Amendment Resolution 2026-0428.3 in the amount of $218,000.00. As background information, at the November 18th, 2025 meeting, the City Commission approved a task order for the above-mentioned firms to perform initial engineering analysis on all 287 of the FEMA road segments. The services to provide under this task order include full design and bid document preparation for the first 32 road segments, which includes the 2 road segments that require full reconstruction and 30 segments that will be milled and overlaid. Also included with this task order are surveys on 16 of the road segments determined to have less than 3 inches of asphalt thickness during the initial engineering analysis. Additional task orders for the design and bid document preparation for the remaining 255 road segments will be brought to the Commission in the near future. All of these remaining 255 segments will utilize the mill and overlay repair methodology, which has a lower design fee per segment than full reconstruction segments. The fees for the various services and designs are shown within the included task order that is attached to this agenda request. The fees for all of the design firms involved in this project are included with Dewberry's task order, and these fees will all be reimbursed by FEMA. Staff recommendation through the Director of Public Works and our engineering division is that the Commission approve this request and the accompanying budget amendment resolution. Mr. Mayor?
I will entertain a motion.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
Is this the add-on that remember we had one and we asked them to do more, another quote?
No, sir. This is the actual part of the ones, the 351 segments that we got approved as part of the appeal process through the panel of the judges. Roughly, I guess, maybe 70-ish of them have already been taken care of, meaning the road segments through either one of the state revolving fund projects or an HMGP or a CDBG-DR project. So that leaves us with, you know, the roughly 287, I believe. And so these are of the ones that are fully reimbursable and covered by the FEMA project. The other roughly 300 segments, because as a reminder, there were 650 segments identified early on, but only 351 were identified by FEMA. So the roughly remaining 300 is part of another task order. And they started doing some preliminary work on that, but we're really focusing on this one because of the timeline and the reimbursement process.
All right.
Yes, sir.
Any other discussion? Please call the roll.
Commissioner Street?
Yes.
Commissioner Hughes?
Yes.
Commissioner Lucas?
Yes.
Commissioner Granger?
Yes.
Mayor Branch?
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
Commission has adopted Resolution 2026-0428.3, a resolution providing for the budgeting of capital funds.
Item 11D is consideration to approve budget amendment number 2026-0428.4, authorizing the transfer of $4,000.00 from the state forfeiture fund to the general fund to complete the statutorily required annual donation by the police department for 2025. Pursuant to the state statute, the police department is required to make an annual donation to eligible organizations. For 2025, a total of $4,000 is required to satisfy this obligation. Due to the current budgeting and expenditure needs, it is requested that $4,000 be transferred from the state forfeiture fund to the general fund to facilitate the required donation. Staff recommendation through the Chief of Police is that the Commission approve this request and the budget amendment. Mr. Mayor?
I will entertain a motion.
Motion approved.
Second.
Any discussion?
Yes. What are the eligible organizations that this is going to?
Mr. Jones? Eligible organizations?
This is Gulf Coast State College's Tempest program. It's their emergency response command vehicle, and the Children's Advocacy Center.
Any other discussion? Please call the roll.
Commissioner Street?
Yes.
Commissioner Hughes?
Yes.
Commissioner Lucas?
Yes.
Commissioner Granger?
Yes.
Mayor Branch?
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
Commission adopted Resolution 2026-0428.4, a resolution providing for the amendment of the approved fiscal year 25-26 budget to expend state forfeiture funds for statutorily required donations.
Item 11E is the consideration to approve additional construction administration services for the Martin Theater and associated budget amendment resolution 2026-0428.5 to DAG Architects in the amount of $94,800.00. As background information, the City Commission approved DAG Architects Additional Services Proposal Number 11 at the March 10th, 2026 City Commission meeting for $50,000 instead of the requested amount of $493,500.00. City staff was directed to submit requests for construction administration or CA services every 2 months going forward. As of the date of this request, CA services were behind in billing. The request catches up billing and provides for the next 2 months of construction administration services. The remaining amount of CA services for the current construction contract is $348,700.00. Staff recommendation through the City Manager's Office is that the commission approve the proposal for the additional CA services in the budget amendment resolution 2026-0428.5 in the amount of $94,800.00. Mr. Mayor?
I will entertain a motion.
Motion to approve.
And a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion? Please call the roll.
Commissioner Street?
Yes.
Commissioner Hughes?
Yes.
Commissioner Lucas?
Yes.
Commissioner Granger?
Yes.
Mayor Branch?
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
Commission adopted Resolution 2026-0428.5, a resolution providing for the budgeting of capital funds.
Item 11F is consideration to approve Resolution 2026-0428.6, adopting the Special Event Handbook, and Resolution 2026-0428.7, authorizing the city manager to submit requests to the Florida Department of Transportation for temporary state road closures related to city special events. As background information, on January 13th of 2026, the Commission adopted Special Event Ordinance Number 3296, which required updates to the city's Special Event Handbook to ensure consistency with the revised ordinance and to further streamline the special event permitting process. For the Commission's consideration, attaches Resolution 2026-0428.6, adopting the updated Special Event Handbook, which is included as Exhibit A. This handbook will serve as a comprehensive guide for event organizers and outlines the full special event process, including application requirements, submission timelines, fee schedules, permit conditions, and coordination with appropriate city departments. It also provides clear guidance on operational expectations related to public safety, traffic control, sanitation, insurance, and post-event responsibilities. One of the main updates within the handbook is the transition from the previous two-category system, both small and large events, to a structured tier-based classification system which categorizes events not based just on size, but also their complexity and impact on city resources. Also attached for consideration is the Resolution 2026-0428.7, which delegates authority to the city manager to request temporary closures of state roads from the Florida Department of Transportation for approved special events. The delegation allows for more timely coordination with FDOT and eliminates the need to bring individual events requiring state road closures before the City Commission, while still ensuring all required assurances and compliance measures are met. Staff recommendation through the Director of Parks, Culture, and Recreation is that the Commission approve Resolution 2026-0428.6 and Resolution 2026-0428.7. Mr. Mayor, Commissioners, I'll just add that we worked very closely. Kudos to Mr. Myrell and to Ms. Dawson for all their work on this, collaborating with Destination Panama City, the Downtown Improvement Board, and other large event holders in our city. So the recommendation for approval is in front of you today. Mr. Mayor?
Awesome. I will entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
I would like to offer a suggested addition in the section where it is talking about police.
I'm sorry, which section, Commissioner?
Police services.
Police services.
And if police services are required, the event coordinator must submit a police services request through the city's off-duty management system no later than 2 weeks prior to the event date. I'd like us to add another law enforcement agency or licensed private security service may be permitted on a case-by-case basis, subject to the review and approval by chief of police or designate, based on the nature of the event security.
And I can address that as well, ma'am. Off-duty management allows for that already. So if, let's say there's an event that requires 20 officers, and we have officers scheduled on leave. Once ODM's full of our officers signing up and there's no other takers, then at a certain point that actually gets broadcast out to all the other agencies in Bay County that participate in ODM, which it's at least 4. And those officers have the ability to sign up, whether it's the Sheriff's Department or other participating agencies.
I'd just like to see us add it. It still falls under the chief of police's purview for addressing it. It doesn't go outside of that.
Yes, ma'am.
Would you just mind reading that one more time?
Yes, another law enforcement agency or licensed private security service may be permitted, again, may, there's no guarantees of anything, on a case-by-case basis, subject to review and approval by the chief of police or designee, based on the nature of the event, security needs, operational considerations.
I have no concerns with that. Chief? No? All good?
I want to give big kudos to Keith and your staff. I've had people reach out to me And their big thing was it answered the questions that they had, and they didn't have to come to me. So thank you for doing that. And the tier system was very popular. To piggyback on what Commissioner Lucas was talking about, we have events that are small enough. Can we hire off-duty guys like they used to be able to without having to go through this portal? It becomes cheaper. And it's not necessarily, because one of the biggest expenses are police on these. And I don't know if that's where you're going with your request, but if they have to close roads, certainly you gotta have police. But if you're gonna have something inside or on your property, do you need to have, can you have just a security guard that you pay, off duty and direct? Is that possible?
Commissioner, you could. There's just the requirements of what triggers the need for police. So whether it's a road closure or it's an event that's got alcohol included.
Right.
But if it's at, let's say it's at Lake Huntington Park Clubhouse, right? There's no alcohol, it's indoors, and it's an event, like it may not require any police. It may not even require commission approval. So I mean, there's an ability to help.
Pretty much all of our special events require commission approval. I mean, and there's a cost. I'm just trying to figure out the cost factor for the smaller events, not to get the police out of it, but there's an option there that might work.
And staff does work within the existing framework and will also work within the new framework to help event organizers minimize those costs. We're not looking to overcharge them.
Yeah, and
I'm not suggesting that, but okay.
Yeah. And I think too, Commissioner, I don't know that, and I think you said like at your house, if it's at your house, that's not considered a public event, so it would not be any of our business.
Well, it all depends.
Yeah, as long as you're not closing the road or having the party out in the street, but if you have something in your backyard and you invite 50 friends over, I mean, as long as you follow the noise ordinances of the city.
We have pop-up events as special events that sometimes require police, so that really doesn't work. And that's something that's covered in our.
No, you didn't, Jerry.
And again, just as a thought, just trying to figure out a cost factor savings there. I use my house. If Alan was going to have something at one of his restaurants inside, yes, it's on a city road, maybe filters in and around there, but not closing a road. I'm just trying to. Do we have to go through 1, 2, 3, 4 police officers again through the ODM? Is that right? ODM?
So is it the ODM that's the problem? Or
I don't know.
So tier 5 events may or may not require any security at all. It
Right.
depends on what you're doing.
Right.
And even tier 5 says, no alcohol, because alcohol triggers.
Alcohol and road
behaviors.
closures are the big ones.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
I think Commissioner Hughes is saying if there are ever alternatives to this OEM program that has a lesser degree of security, maybe someone who's unarmed, that we should consider it and help people have more events that are, maybe tier 5, there's a step where it's like security guard versus a true police officer.
We will certainly look into it.
Okay.
Totally. Yeah, I don't want an undue burden, but I also don't want unsafe events. And so
Exactly.
it's really on the police department to regulate what safety is. I don't really know. Is that a flash?
Someone's taking your picture.
Somebody's taking a picture.
We're not speeding.
Commissioner Hughes, I would also like to add, and I'm going out on a limb here and speaking for Keith Myrtle, our Parks Culture and Rec Director, Nadia Dawson on his staff did an excellent job in helping craft and coordinate this, and I just wanted to recognize her.
Oh, yeah. I
This is
100%
awesome.
gave him credit for that
I
already.
had great feedback from people. Everyone loves it. So much more of a friendly presentation of information as well. The block parties, I would love to have those promoted on social media like every quarter. And also pair, so a lot of banks have grills and things like that. They'll lend out like People's First does. And so we want to encourage block parties because it's the way that people meet their neighbors. And neighbors gather and they talk about their problems they're having with their neighborhoods and they bring them to us. And they can also have the commissioners of the awards show up to their block parties. I love it. Any other discussion? Awesome. Please call the roll.
So
wait.
what's the motion?
Motion was to accept. I thought it was a motion and a second to accept.
With the additional clause?
With the additional clause? And the additional clause was?
I didn't motion, so I think it was you and
Commissioner Hughes made the motion.
Yeah.
Commissioner
You'd
Granger
have to
second.
amend.
Okay.
So I need
I was
to
gonna say, I don't
amend
remember
my
making the motion, but
to
it's been
include
amended.
Commissioner Lucas's addition.
Okay.
I think you could just state that you accept her.
I'll accept her addition to my motion.
And does your second still stay?
Yes.
Okay.
And is the addition read into the motion?
Will you please send me the verbiage that
Yeah,
you
you might wanna
used?
send that to her
Commissioner
then.
Lucas, will you send the verbiage to
Yes.
us?
send
Yes.
word forward.
Okay.
If there's no
Thank
other
you.
discussion, please call the roll.
Commissioner Street?
Yes.
Commissioner Hughes?
Yes.
Commissioner Lucas?
Yes.
Commissioner Granger?
Yes.
Mayor Branch?
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
I'd like to read Resolution 2026-0428.6, a resolution of the City of Panama City adopting the Special Events Handbook that will provide the special event application process and fee schedule.
Item 11G is discussion and consideration of the Adopt a Park program.
Mr. Hayes, Jonathan, we have two resolutions on that one.
Oh,
Second resolution is Resolution 2026-0428.7, a resolution of the City of Panama City delegating to the city manager the authority to request the State of Florida Department of Transportation to temporarily close state roads for special events, providing for indemnification.
Item 11G, for real this time, is the discussion and consideration of the Adopt a Park program through the Parks, Culture, and Recreation Department, or PCR, to assist with the maintenance and beautification of the City of Panama City's parks. As background information, the City of Panama City provides more than 240 acres and nearly 40 parks for our community and visitors. In efforts to enhance the quality of city parks, athletic fields, trails, and paths, the PCR department has drafted and submits the attached Adopt a Park program included as Exhibit A. The program is designed to promote community involvement to assist with maintaining and beautifying the City of Panama City parks. The program also encourages the community to assist with the safety of parks by reporting potential hazards, vandalism, and general park needs. It allows residents, organizations, and businesses to become stewards of local parks to improve park quality through collaboration, activities, and investment. What I'm going to request tonight, Mr. Mayor, Commissioners, is that rather than adopting this and having a vote tonight, just allow this to be a time of conversation to get some direct feedback from the five of you. Additionally, we have received some additional feedback from the public, such as programming tier, monthly volunteer hour report is required, but we can add a quarterly or biannual report if we so desire. Priorities, maybe inside the same group, for the same group and organization, they might be in the same area. And so that was some feedback that was provided by Ms. Bryant to Mr. Meyerl. So we want to take that feedback. He likes a lot of it and wants to incorporate into this modification. So we'll bring it back at the May 12th commission meeting for your consideration, but would love to get any feedback from each of you as well in order for Mr. Meyerl and his team to finalize this for presentation at the next meeting. Mr. Mayor?
Yeah, I'll start. I thought it was awesome. Michelle Bryant had some great commentary. She sent me an email that needs to be considered. I look forward to the next version of it. It's a great step forward. Adopt a stormwater pond, adopt it. Let's do it all. Any other discussion on it?
No?
Love some feedback.
So my concern is we're asking people to volunteer and we got 6 pages of stuff they gotta follow.
Yeah.
You know, and you can only do it this way, you gotta be here at this time. We're asking them to volunteer, and I wanna make it as easy as possible and without all these rules and requirements. One way is, we group parks together in neighborhoods, shoot the messenger, but an idea is to make the dollar that is voluntary on your water bill, to make it mandatory, and that stays in that area for parks, in that area alone. For example, I live in the Cove, there's 5 parks, there's 2,200 houses, every month there'll be $2,200 put into a fund to help take care of the parks. That's an option. That's not a volunteer program, that's a mandatory program, but on the volunteer side, I know we got to sign a hold harmless, and I know we have to have you work when you can work, but do we have to create all these requirements? Can they go in there and clean up and do, or what's the purpose of the volunteer?
I agree with you. I think there shouldn't be a lot of hoops you'd have to jump through, or ideally 0 hoops. I mean, you're volunteering. I would be interested in kind of just brainstorming what does that look like if we tacked onto the water bill. I mean, that's a enterprise fund, so I don't know how that would work. I don't even know if it could work, but
There's already a fee there.
That portion
It's
goes
voluntary.
to.
it's a
Make it
donation.
mandatory.
Oh, okay.
Because right
But-
now, people don't know where it's going.
Yeah,
Exactly.
My point though is that that may work for folks in the Cove who could throw a rock and hit a park. But those of us in Ward 3, I mean, there's
You
one.
need a drone.
Yeah, like, how far do you have to be from the park in order to pay it?
Right.
And if you do pay it, if everybody pays it, then where exactly does that money go, if that makes sense, right?
Okay, good question. So let's just use Forest Park, for example. You've got Chapman Park, what was our alternative?
Yeah.
Florida Avenue Park.
Huh?
There's a Florida
Yeah,
Avenue Park.
RVD
Florida
Mathis
Avenue
Park.
right.
Yeah, that's
So
the-
everybody, whatever that geography, that is, draw a circle around it, geofence it, they all pay. Because here's what I've learned. Everybody now has an opinion about the parks that don't make money, that want us to keep them up, but they hadn't had a problem with it for the last 20 years.
Yeah.
So now everybody gets it, they get a voice for $1 a month. And so for $12 a year, you have a voice, and it's your park, if you want to go, is prettier, but most people don't, but they want to come and talk about it.
I'm not a huge fan of telling people they got to pay for something.
Me either.
But they're already paying for it. I mean, ultimately, every taxpayer in the city is paying for it right now, period, right? Like, that's one of the things that a lot of people don't really bring back in the discussion is, right now, it's being covered 100% by the general fund, which means every taxpayer is paying for it.
So are we talking about, I feel like we strayed from the agenda
Yeah, we
item. With the water bill, dollar stuff, I think a great idea that staff could bring back to us if they want to explore it. The adopt a park stuff, I agree that if you have a heart to volunteer, we shouldn't slow you down. We do want to let them know, like, hey, just because you're a volunteer doesn't mean you can cut this tree down.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean you can take the slide out. It's not like, we
Which
don't-
that actually happened. It was in one of the cemeteries that someone's mother's tree that got planted got cut down because the volunteers just didn't know.
And that's one you can't fix right there.
You can't, and we were very upset.
Yeah, so the action, I think, for staff would be, we want to have the lens of when someone's ready to volunteer, we don't slow them down with a lot of boring paperwork, that we're encouraging and make it easy, but we don't set ourselves up for lawsuits or, oh my God, I had no idea you took a bulldozer and leveled the field either.
Right.
Guidelines, that kind of stuff, super important. But yeah, I look forward to the next version. Yeah, and in all fairness, I have not looked at what other cities do with their parks and their adopt a park program. So I'm kind of coming at this honestly with not much research in this phase, but I thought the packet was good.
Yeah, just as a reminder, Mr. Morrow has 25 plus years of experience, and so he tapped in on that from the city of Jacksonville as well as several local governments up in Virginia.
I'd like to see us do this, because it's about more than just the money, it's the people. In summer, it is very taxing on our staff to keep all the parks looking equally well and nice, and quite frankly, we have not done that. And so this is an opportunity for those who've shown an interest in being able to do so, and help keep our community. And one of the things that we need is ways and places for people to come together more, because our city isn't just, the business, and businesses. It is also community and gathering and helping to support that. So
100%.
I like it.
I like it.
I would like for us to see how we get that done as well.
Yeah, awesome work. Any other comments tonight?
We'll bring it back May 12th.
Perfect.
All right, item 11H is discussion of and just direction from the virtual workshop, from the in-housing workshop we had with Florida Housing Coalition, and then just direction for moving forward with Housing and Community Services Department. Based on recommendations from the Florida Housing Coalition, the next best practice steps for the City of Panama City are as follows: conduct a housing needs assessment, and then establish a clear timeline and procedure for property disposition. It is noted from the FHC, that's Florida Housing Coalition, that the city should adopt a realistic, well-defined timeline and process for the disposition of city-owned property. Housing and Community Services Department has been collaborating with the FHC to create an equitable and transparent land disposition policy for the affordable housing, ensuring that publicly owned land could be leveraged responsibly and effectively. That would affect about 40 or so parcels that have been purchased by the Housing Community Services Department. Definition was requested to provide for affordable housing. Again, it refers to housing provided to individuals whose income does not exceed 120% of the area median income and their monthly housing expense does not exceed 30% of their adjusted gross income. One of the things that we've requested, I know at the roundtable workshop that we had where, there was no voting that took place, but there was some feedback given from some of the board, a desire to kind of start moving some of the parcels, in the next 60 to 90 days or so. So Ms. Ware and Mr. Jones and I have worked and chatted over the last couple of weeks, and our recommendation before you today to consider would be to accelerate the reduction of parcels held within the housing inventory. Prioritized approach would be a sale of the larger parcels. That's defined as parcels that are 1/2 acre or greater. Selling these large sites would generate meaningful revenue to replenish the housing fund, allowing the city to expand assistance to additional eligible applicants to ensure continued alignment with the city's affordable housing objectives. These parcels could be conveyed with restricted covenants as the commission so desires, or development agreements requiring the construction of affordable housing within a certain amount of time. This may include multifamily or single-family developments, depending on the parcel size, zoning, and surrounding neighborhood context. And I just would say those larger parcels are included as well. Again, roughly 10 that are 1/2 acre or greater. So just wanted to, again, have a follow-up conversation with the board from the roundtable with the Florida Housing Coalition and several community leaders, and just get some direction from the commission in moving forward with a recommendation from staff. Mr. Mayor?
Yes, so I met with Jonathan and the team about an hour and a half before this meeting started, and I said, how do we keep this from being a free-for-all, 2-hour-long debate on the dais? And Mrs. Ware came in too to help us sort of navigate the conversation. And so I want to kind of frame it as a reminder to us and the public. We have properties in the city that belong to the city, but really they're a bucket of CRA-owned property, city-owned property, and housing-owned property. And then there are little buckets of types of property, little infill residential lots, big lots we have a 29-acre piece of property. You've got commercial property, you've got residential property, and so you have all these sort of different buckets. And so it's really hard. So I would definitely encourage us as we discuss this tonight to sort of identify the bucket or property type, because there are so many different situations and properties. It's hard to make a 1 to 10 sentence statement about all the properties that we have. For me, I'd like to see properties that are in the housing department were meant for affordable housing, and I would like them kept in the goal of returning them into affordable housing on the market as quickly as possible through partnerships. I'm the most protective over CRA properties, especially ones that are on commercial corridors. To me, those are designed and meant for P3s or very guided projects with partners, because those are can be 100 different things, and we want to spur on growth. And then there are larger properties. So even within housing, we have little infill lots, and we have big lots of property that could be multi-family units. It could be some of these are properties that are on commercial corridors but go back acres and acres. So they actually could be. Sorry, I couldn't go back. They could be both residential and commercial. You could have a commercial piece of that property. So those are just some thoughts that I have. Happy to open up the conversation.
Yeah, I like that. I've had several conversations with Housing Corporation that came and visited with us. They are very excited about what we have, where we are, but they all start with, we need to come up with a framework on a process, to Commissioner Lucas's word, because if we start putting them out there, he said, you're going to be sitting right here trying to figure out how to get rid of them. And so if we do that up front, and to your point, Mayor, getting rid of housing lots is different than CRA lots, and they have a different use. I asked Sean Self to give me all the lots and filter them into those 3 categories. And so, because I'm a nerd and sit around and look for values, so I'm going to bring that to you guys just so that we have an idea of what we have. Doesn't mean it's going to sell for market rating, just means that what we have. Like there's 30 acres on College Avenue. There can be a warehouse district. Okay? It doesn't have to be, it doesn't have to be residential. But I think the sooner we can put something together in the process, the sooner we can start putting lots out there. Like Do we give them away? Do we not? Do we sell them? Do we hold on to them and get them back and create a fund for Commissioner Granger talking about for the cemeteries? You know, 1 or 2 sales of that, and you funded that thing, okay? But I think that has to come out of probably the city-owned lots, not CRA or housing. So those types of things, I think, to the public's request, having a workshop so that everybody can be involved, I think it's a good idea. I would recommend, though, if we're going to do that, I think we have a lot of people from partnerships that come that I don't necessarily know partner with the city. Or is that a good use of their time and our time to have them at the round table? I don't know. And if so, I'd like to engage them more when they're there.
Yeah, I met with a contractor who was concerned that he was actually at the workshop and was like, why wasn't I invited? And so that process will give us the ability to say, well, present your idea. Here are the things that are available. Here's maybe what we want, or maybe we sell them, but at least it gives everyone a shot at something. Versus like, well, I don't know who to invite. There's a lot of people that can build a house. And, you know, and so there definitely needs to be a process. I would agree.
And I think that us saying what we want, we've got the neighborhood plans that have been developed. So that gives us some direction. We've got Incremental Development Alliance developers that we've invested in money in their training. And then there are folk in the community who have means but may not necessarily know how to go about the process. And so I think the direction we're moving in now is a good direction. When we look at the 10 properties that have been presented to us, I do have concerns about affordable housing in flood zones. That came up at a resilience workshop I was at today with A.D. Harris, that when we put affordable housing in flood zones, we're just creating a bigger problem in the future of responding in the event of a disaster. So that is something to be concerned with and about. And then as I looked at these parcels, I'm like, that doesn't really say what we'd like to see in these areas. And it does open it up for us to be reactive as a city. There are 5 of us. We could have 5 different ideas that we want to do on 3rd Street East, you know. And so if we craft it in such a way, as one of the incremental development presenters said happened in the Atlanta area, he responded to that RFP and was able to develop and get into development. And that's what I'd like to see, us have a process laid out.
I do have a question. Can we split lots as a city, or is that only the private guys can do that?
We can split lot.
We can split lots.
Okay.
We
In
can
fact, the
actually do it a lot easier than other
infill
people.
property that we approved last month or earlier this month had already been split. It was a bigger parcel and it was split into 5 properties, 5 parcels.
So I, you know, to the mayor's point, being very specific, because there's a lot of different avenues and things like that. So I'm just going to be very specific on a process and a very specific group of properties. So there's lots of other groups, but this one, the reason why I'm focused on this one for our conversation coming off of that, it's already been embedded for affordable housing and it's already been designated in the affordable housing space for single-family homes. So my take is taking the infill program, leaving Horizon Park within that program, which is about 13 lots. We don't have a wait list. That's more than enough, given the inventory of we're burning through maybe 3 to 4 a year. So that lasts for 3 to 4 years worth of inventory based upon how we've been operating that program currently. The remaining properties, taking them out of the infill program and basically subdividing them to the minimum lot size, and then awarding them to people that bring us the proposal based upon price per square foot, getting that affordability mark under $200,000. We heard from 3 or 4 builders that are ready to build homes under $200,000. I don't want to spend another 6 months doing analysis when there's obviously a need in the community. We've got property identified to do it. Let's make the process within the next 30 days to do that. And then award based upon price per square foot, and I'm open to giving preference to those that have gone through the Incremental Development Alliance training. I think that's a great way for us to invest in helping spark those entrepreneurs if they've gone through it, give them first preference, and but award based upon price per square foot so that we can actually get to affordability in the city.
The guy who says he can build for under 200, he's selling for 225. I went and checked on his
We're going to
site.
say you're selling below $200,000. That's what I would prefer.
Okay. And the only way to do that is to give them the lot.
Whatever it
Right.
takes to get there.
Right.
These have
okay.
already been designated as such, so it's not in any of these other complicated parts. We go and split them, and, I mean, we could be doing this within 30 days.
So specifically, the lots that are in the housing.
In the infill program specifically, leave Horizon Park, leave it, it's already got infrastructure, it's already got that, let the program continue to operate. You know, it's not gonna be interfered for the next few years, but these that are just banked in inventory, that's kind of like this, oh, come and pick your lock approach. Let's get these into hands of people that are willing to build under $200,000, and it's build and sell under $200,000.
And so it's literally what can you build for the lowest square footage price, whether it's carport, no carport, garage, no garage.
Yes.
Hardy board siding, vinyl siding, doesn't matter. I mean, my first house, vinyl siding, vinyl windows.
It's about affordability.
Right.
That is the primary objective. I would love
Now,
to
the
see that
infill
down.
program already defines your minimums, square footage, bedrooms, bathrooms. Why take the lots out of that? Because that program is working. We can do it to accelerate it.
But what would we do to accelerate? I think that's the piece. The program's been around for 4 or 5 years. You know, at this point in time, it's doing about 3 to 4 a year, partially because it's a capital-intensive process. We're funding we're helping with this construction process. We're bringing through and we're vetting people. The point of what I'm saying is drive to affordability so that you can actually get people to the table on a product that they can afford to buy.
So are we going, oh, go ahead.
I'm sorry,
Go ahead,
it's the
my bad.
people factor. When you take the approach from the property perspective, as you're doing now, what prevents that property from becoming property that's not for someone who is in the 120% LMI category? When we put it to the open market, and that's one of the reasons that our process is a little slower in our infill, because we want to ensure that the folk who get into the property actually meet the program criteria. Once we release it to the open market, what are our guards to make sure that in 2-3 years, it's not on the open market?
Yeah, when someone flips it and.
Yes.
I bought it
No
for 6 months.
investors.
Yes.
Yeah, sure, yeah, it needs to be a primary resident.
Yeah.
I mean, it needs to be somebody that's ready to go in that. And look, if we've got somebody that's qualified that wants to purchase, I'm sure that any of these builders would sell to anybody. But if there's not someone qualified to purchase and we're gonna have to wait 8 months to get someone qualified, like, we're taking off of the market right now. We have vacant land that could be affordable housing, and people can have opportunities that they do not have currently. And so in this particular category, I'm trying to reduce the complexity so that we can move forward in a faster manner. There are lots of other pockets to address. There's still NSP, there's still, you know, like Alan was saying with CRA, there's still another group of properties. Those aren't even including these right here that are listed for us today. So I'm just being very specific. I was asked to be
No, and
specific.
I was
I'm
asking-
being very specific, below $200,000, getting it into the hands of people that will deliver a sell for that price as quickly as possible.
I can appreciate the specificity.
Yeah. So-
But the question is, what in 2 to 3 years? There's a stopgap, you know, in the housing department homes that you've got to pay some money back, you've got to do this, that, or the other within a certain time frame. You can't just flip it, right? Are you open to those kind of stuff?
I am, as long as we continue moving things forward. I think that there's still a variety of options for us to create, whether that's community land trust, whether those things. But these have just been locked up into this pocket for a long enough time that I think that we should try something different. And I think this is a way for us to try difference. And we have people that have said they can build housing and sell it for less than $200,000. I want to push it back to them and say, prove it.
Yeah, I think it's.
I want to see it once, and then we'll give them a bunch of lots. Then we'll take a bunch of lots.
Rather than complaining about government, we have people that are ready to participate.
Right.
Let's push it back and let them do it.
So the lot sales out of that, does that go to housing? The ones that we take out of the infield and we sell those lots, where does
Depends on
that
how it
money
was
go?
purchased. So if it was purchased through SHIP, but first process is subdividing the lot. If we bought something for $5,000 and we can get 4 lots out of it because we can get to the smaller size lot, well, that, I mean, that's what is that? 4 lots divided by 5,000? Like,
great.
Ms. Ware, can you come on up?
Yeah.
Oh, yes. Yes, ma'am. So I think you can hear a little bit of consensus around some stopgaps, so we don't look like fools up here if we sell something, we subsidize something and say, thanks, we took all the equity and we flipped it 6 months later. We want people to build long-term wealth, but we want speed and we want partnerships, and so interested in seeing how we can move forward.
Okay, Sheila Ware, Housing, Director of Housing and Community Services. The lots that are in the infill program, we don't have any larger lots other than the larger parcels that we submitted that we thought may be one avenue to generate some additional funding for the housing fund. The lots that are listed on Horizon, you don't have that list, but it's about 37 lots left that are available. They are not, those lots are already 35 feet, some of them are 30-foot lots. You can't decrease that size anymore. Most of these infill lots are already as small as they can be. Very seldom do we have one where we can split, like the one on 19th and then the one that we had one on Elm Avenue that we were able to split into 3. So there's not a lot of opportunity for that to be done. When these lots are not in the most desirable areas, some of them. Robbie, I guess you could tell us how many houses are on the market in Glenwood. I receive a call, well, not just Glenwood, but in the city limits on houses that the builders have built. At least 2 calls a week saying, I have something for sale. Do you have anybody? We're having a hard time selling it. So that is why we went with Florida Housing to get the approach of what is needed in this area. Just building 25 houses to set there. We've tried that. When they started with Horizon in the beginning, they did an RFP for that. We had 6 homes built just in that development. We sat on those homes for a year and a half. They were priced way under $200,000, and we were not able to move them. And we did fund that for the construction. We do not do that anymore. We're not funding the construction. We're just receiving the funding back that was put into the lot, and that money we're recycling. The clients are receiving the $50,000 down payment assistance, but we've got, we're capped out with that. We do not only do 3 houses a year in the infill program. Last year, I want to say, I don't have my exact numbers with me, but I want to say we did about 10. That was infill. That didn't include our tear down rebuild. So we're not only producing 3 houses, but here again, it has to be a desirable lot. And that's what we're dealing with. We're pushing them.
Yeah.
But some of these builders may not want to build on some of these lots either.
Yeah, I think
So we need to come up with a cohesive plan. That's why I have been working on a land disposition policy that will give you 6 or 7 options, whether they go to a nonprofit, whether the city sells them for resale to a developer. And whether you put the contingency on it, whether it's competitive or non-competitive, that's going to be left up to the commission. But that's why we asked, and Florida Housing is encouraging us, develop your land disposition policy, have a procedure so that it's fair to everybody in the community, and it's not just a select group that we're picking one nonprofit or we're picking one builder over another. The fairest way that we've been doing infill is to allow the client. You look at the lots, they don't have to go through infill. When they come in, you can go through and just purchase any property out on the market that's already, constructed. So we're not holding up development. A lot of these lots have been donated to us. All of them haven't been purchased. So some of the ones that we've had longer have been donations to us, or we've received them back from a tax deed sale, which pretty much is a donation also. So it's not like we're holding on to the properties, but they are hard to market. And we do have to look at, if we're giving them to a developer, will we receive any money back in housing? And that's what we're here to do, is to provide additional affordable housing and make it equitable for everyone.
So what was the disposal of properties, that plan, that includes them telling us what a developer should build on those residential lots? Because to me, I think that specifically on those residential lots, the market, like a builder won't build something they can't make money from. And I toured James McDonald's, McCowell's properties a tour at a time, and he's built a lot of different products in that area, tiny houses and larger houses, carports, no carports. And so I'm in favor of guardrails, because I don't want to look silly when we give someone an incentive and they flip the house 6 months later.
Right.
But I like a policy or process around disposition of properties, but as far as hiring someone to tell people what to build on single-family lots, I would be discouraging of that. To me, no one knows the market better than someone who's already in the market.
Right.
And it's their risk to build something. If
Right,
they build something
right.
that doesn't work, they're
You
sitting
set
on it.
minimum requirements, and then they decide from there if they want to be at minimum or go up.
Yeah, and we can always tell them like, hey, single family is great. Single family with an ADU, even better. Or we could tell them like more units the better. Or, that kind of stuff. But I would like to. But my opinion, really, I'm really much more protective over commercial corridor areas, because those could be mixed use or a drive. It could be way more different products. And but there's a lot of new construction in Glenwood. I'm just blown away.
There is.
So check this out, excluding Sweet Bay, Cove Point, and the new one that's being built in Kings Point. If you use 11th Street, 6th Street, MLK, and East Avenue as your boundaries, there's more new construction happening right there than there is anywhere else in Panama City.
two
So
houses up
congratulations, Commissioner Lucas. Yeah, they're killing it. And so there were 15 houses being built there when I drove through not too long ago. I'm just, and driving around, they are being built right now. Doesn't necessarily mean they're all coming from infill, but people are buying and selling houses. That is happening over there.
But they're not affordable, and I think that's the piece that I'm trying to address with saying, look, it sounds like it's even simpler. If we don't have to go through subdivide, we should be able to move pretty quickly on this. It should go even faster.
Yeah, if you've got a residential lot, it's a residential lot.
That's what I'm saying, and I think from my perspective is that, look, like, we try it. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work, But if we don't get it into the hands of the people that communicated to us, and it was multiple, that, hey, we will deliver housing below $200,000, selling it, then, we're just going to be sitting here 6 months from now. We started this process last August, and we are still sitting here with no substantial change or try. I was asked to be specific. I'm being specific. I would love to have support and moving forward with that specific piece.
I would submit to you we're here because we have no process of getting rid of it. And that would be, if we can come up with that real quick, not real quick, but when we come up with that, now we can say, all right, people, here we go. And now we know how it's going to come in. The public, the staff, and the commission all understand how it's going to work. And that makes it easier for the whole process to work.
So could we say in 30 days, we want to see a process for infill lots in the housing, CRA, and city portfolios? 30 days?
Is it possible for the land disposition
No,
policy?
we're still working on that, and we're working through the work group with Florida Housing. We will be at least, it's probably
Well,
going to be
that's-
60 days.
That's how, correct me if I'm wrong, that's disposition of properties in the housing department specifically, but not CRA or
Right.
city.
But you would use that kind of as your guide, because, to answer your question, Mayor, in the disposition policy, I have in here, there's about 7 options of what the property, the eligible uses of the property. Then we go into the land disposition methods, and there's about 10 different methods that you could use that would apply to the properties, whether it be multifamily, single family, infill, RFP, RFQ, whether you give it to a qualified, nonprofit housing provider. So there's all options in there, and what would happen is once this plan is completed, it would, go before the commission for you all to review, and it would go to, of course, the city attorney to get their input on it. And then we would come up with a plan that, hopefully you all would adopt. But this will give us a way to get started, and it will be a clear, distinction for everybody in knowing that it's being
I
followed.
think keeping the lots that are in housing as affordable and having that lens on specifically those properties is really good. I think to Josh's point, we could take city lots and CRA lots and say, these are infill lots in these buckets, CRA and city. What offers do we have on the table? What are they worth on the market? To me, from our perspective is, well, depends what your lens is. Selling them at market rate, getting them on the tax roll fast, big wins. But if they're in the housing department, they should be framed with affordability. And so I could support CRA properties, infill to be sold, highest and best use on the market quickly. And the restriction on that would be speed. I don't want anyone sitting on the lots.
Can I clarify? Because I think when you're using infill, and I could be misunderstanding.
Infill, between two lots.
Between two lots. So there's an actual infill program, which was what I was focused on from that perspective, because those are already designated for affordable housing. And it allows us to just say, hey, this is the price point you need to deliver on. And sure, maybe there could be, like, if you sell it within 5 years, then you gotta pay us back something, I don't know, but some kind of deed restriction that's on it to provide some protections.
So that's disposition.
Yeah.
And that's the parameters that we have to set. What Robbie just described, 11-6 MLK East, that's infill development that's going on right now. We have a program that the city runs, but infill development is just that, And Robbie asked a question earlier, where do you see the funds going if they're outside of housing? Housing goes back into housing, but CRA and city-owned properties.
I'm trying to go with one problem to address to be as simple as possible. We have not recently built a house under $200,000 and sold it for under $200,000. I'm looking for us to solve that issue. And then from that, if it produces income, sure, put it back in affordability. It doesn't matter to me where it goes, as much as it is about delivering affordable housing in our neighborhoods.
In November and December, I want to say we'd had one for 175 and one for 185. We're working on one that's closing in about 2 weeks that is off of Elm Avenue that's selling for 175. Total sales price including the lot.
But is that including the $50,000 down is how it got to that price, or are they building under
No,
$200,000?
175 is the sales price. We always include that in there. The client will be only financing 125.
Okay. So I think that if we can deliver a house for less square footage, then sure, let's keep doing it, but per square footage. But we can't, and the private market can deliver that better, a better price, then we should allow them to do that.
I would caution that we center around square footage, price per square foot.
Yes,
Price per square foot, I agree. Get caught in that.
Because for all I know, that's a 600
Right,
square foot
tough.
house.
Right.
And right now, the infill program, the policy that was adopted by the commission states that the home has to be at least 950 square feet, and sales price that was established by the commission could not exceed $300,000. Do we do the $300,000? No, I've never done an infill that has been $300,000. We did do one for, we are doing two for $275, but here again, those clients are only financing $225. And, they qualify and they're receiving the down payment and closing cost assistance. So that is what's bringing the property, the mortgage amount down for them. So that's the important piece. We need those funds to continue to do that.
So if I'm a single person, can I qualify for 275 at the max? Or is it qualifying based on how many people are going to be in the house? And
if you come into the program and we look at your finances, if 30% of your gross income qualifies you for a $275,000 home, because of the way the guidelines are set up at 300, I can't tell you, no, you can't purchase that home. We have to be very cautious of violating fair housing laws.
Sheila, when we met, you mentioned that the bigger lots that were over half an acre would be easier to dispose of.
Yes.
Can you tell me more about that?
Okay, because you will probably be looking at multifamily, if we wanted to take them out of the affordable housing inventory and be paid back exactly what we have invested in them, at least that amount. But if they appraise for higher, we're able to get someone that wants to purchase them. We don't have to keep them in the affordable housing inventory, but that's just where they were purchased from now. So when we look at Elm Avenue, as Commissioner Lucas mentioned, that property is, parts of it are in a flood zone. And there are different areas on Elm Avenue that were purchased all in one spot. So that is really one parcel. It's not, so you really don't have 10 here, 10 separate parcels. But we would either make that resilient so that it does not affect them if we built on it, but it would be better to definitely take that property out because we already know that it's in a flood zone. We don't encourage building there, but it is very possible. Elm Avenue was an issue possibly with the flood zone. We've been able to get the property built up high enough so it's not going to affect the flood, not going to affect the client with purchasing flood insurance. But we tell everyone you should purchase flood insurance just as a precaution.
So is there a way that we can work on policy, but also break the properties into buckets? And maybe Commissioner Hughes would be willing to even work with staff on a way to get the highest and best use for things that we should just straight sell for affordable housing and put them on the market. It's only going to be this, let's go. Instead of, what I worry about is creating, in software you would call it cathedral planning, which is this perfect architecture of a thing and then it never actually happens because you get past the window.
That's where I'm at.
And so I'm looking for like little chunks of progress, and that's why I keep saying like, what can we do in 30 days? What can we do? Like little chunks. And those are usually the simplest, most obvious things as you break those little buckets.
So let's keep in mind that the cost to build, the material is the material cost. The way that we help affordability is the lot. So if we are going to keep something in the housing and make it affordable, free or very low cost is how you make that work. And I'll give you an example. My head spun around off my body where Sheila's standing one day because I have $22,000 in a lot in Millville. And so the city's $22,000, it has an advantage on me when they're building
I
housing.
remember that day.
Remember that? Yeah. I'll never forget it. And so we want to make sure that we have those lots are specific. They can't go above X price, to your point, but the ones that we can sell for market value, that can be apartment complexes or mixed use, whatever, those are the ones where we can bank some money, create the cemetery board, but also build houses like Josh is talking about at the same time.
So a property that's sold in the housing department, we can move that money. Does it qualify for the cemetery board trust fund idea? Because it's housing, how does that money?
Explain that again, I'm sorry.
So if we sell a lot from the housing department, it has to go back into housing. Is housing, because I know with CBGB money, it can do other things.
Right.
Tell us how the housing money can be used. Could we sell one of these lots that's under the housing and move it into the trust fund for, the potential trust fund for a cemetery?
How about Panama City lots on that?
Sure.
Because if we take money out of the housing, then we can't recycle it, is the problem.
Right, and we can't do that. You can't take, if housing money was spent to purchase the lot, the
There's your
funds
answer.
go back into housing. If we bought it for 500 and we're able to get 800 for it, that 800 goes back into housing.
Okay.
Isn't it true, though, that if we ended up selling it for more than we purchased it for, we would only have to reimburse the housing program?
No, that's not true.
So if you get something for $10,000, you sell it for 40, all 40 has to
Go back into
the
housing because you're trying to replenish your funds and you would not have had it had housing not purchased that property.
Are the lots like the rental houses that you have a timeline that we can't sell the house until a certain time?
Totally different, that's a different
Okay,
program.
but they don't
on
have
how-
those types of restrictions.
Which kind of explains why my disposition is to give the lot or significantly put it at a reduced price,
Right.
because it's going to affordability. Even if you could get $15,000 for the lot, well, now if it's going to sell for $225 as a result of that, have you really solved the issue you're trying to solve? Like, you focus on price per square foot, and getting it to people that need affordable housing.
I have a question for our attorney, because it sounds like going in this direction, the agreement that we would put out would really have to cover these things that we're talking about now, to close the gaps, to make sure that they're there. Is there anything, have we as a city done anything like this? Or in your tenure as a municipal or government attorney, have you crafted
Did we
such
do
a?
something in the 19th century? I know the city has had restrictive covenants before. I personally haven't done that, but I think she,
You
have
helped
I?
me with the deed restriction for the NSP properties,
See, I
yes.
forget things I've done. We have restrictive covenants, and that would control how the property is used as far as it has to be affordable and all. It obviously then has to be monitored and potentially enforced as far as, but I think probably the most common way is to put it, if you convey a piece of property, you have a restrictive covenant on it as far as to make sure that it's affordable. In the affordability world, they're called land use restriction agreements that you don't need to have one just for a single lot, but that's typically how they're done, Commissioner.
But I think without, even on a residential, if you can't sell it to an investor. It has to be primary resident. That could be not necessarily run with the lot, that runs with the requirement of building on that lot, right?
Yeah, if you have obviously in the contract with the builder, we've also, on our infill projects, we have a variety of different requirements of that contract.
And for the benefit of the public, deed restrictions run with the dirt, and so that's a forever thing. And so if we put something on the dirt, like you can't sell it within 5 years or whatever, that's a tough one where you need to probably put that in the contract. Because if something happens to somebody's life and they can't sell it for 5 years, now you have a bigger problem that you've created, that unintended consequence.
So when I was meeting with staff, they were talking about there was, Ms. Ware mentioned there's larger lots in the housing program that can be sold, but there are other larger lots that Panama City owns. And there was an interest from staff of picking a handful of those lots and getting those to the market. Does staff want to present any idea related to the lots that we had discussed previously?
I think what I mentioned earlier, what we'd love to do is take these 10 and we can, go through the real estate agents that you guys have already approved and sell these 10 for the highest and best use. We would rotate through it alphabetically with the 3 real estate firms that y'all have approved. We've done it once and it was very successful.
But that process is open market and has
It
no
is,
stopgaps for affordability.
Right. Yeah, only for these 10 that are the larger lots that are half acre.
There's only
But those are in affordable, right?
They're in the affordable program, but we could take them out if you wanted to jumpstart things.
So Florida Housing Corporation, both the people I've spoken with, said, make sure you have a plan in place on how to do the disposition of this, the process. Otherwise, you're going to be sitting here doing the same thing. And I didn't have to ask that.
That's the plan for the 40 smaller lots.
They said before we do any of this, we need a plan, which we don't have. That's coming from the people that do it. There's not. Okay, they come up with ideas. And so I agree with that because, again, if we can make it predictable for the citizen and the staff, it makes it easier for the process to work. Makes it easier for us to move it around. But if we can't, at the pleasure of the board, can I come back at the next meeting with this? Thank you. With the full list of lots and values, and so we can have a discussion about market rate and affordability, and that way, would that help? I mean,
I just got this paper today. So
Not this one.
this is the first time I've seen this list.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
But I mean, where I'm at with it is what is the most expeditious process to getting affordability in the city. And it's not that there's not good results in some aspects. It is not moving at the pace of which it needs to move, in my opinion. And so I would like us to change the parameters of programming and tap into the ones that have come into our workshops and said that they can help us deliver that in the most expeditious fashion.
I agree.
The reason we floated this was at the roundtable, it was, requested, how do we quickly move, 10 parcels? And Ms. Ware speaks to the FHC folks multiple times a week. I mean,
twice a week,
what
at
do
and
they
they
think
agreed with
about
Commissioner
moving these
Hughes
10?
that we needed a process
What do they
to
think
begin
about
with.
these 10
Well, Mayor
particular?
Branch and-
Well,
Yeah.
we have a process with the real estate agents. Real estate agents are not going to sell.
Jonathan, if we put it on the open market, the affordability's gone.
Again,
Okay?
we're just
We don't have a
seeking direction.
process for affordability.
We're seeking direction from this board. One of the board members asked how we could sell, and I said I would bring it back
Okay.
to get direction from this board.
Their suggestion is that this land disposition policy be adopted before we move forward with getting rid of any of the lots other than in the infill program, what we already have approved. Because we will not have a, which they feel like is going to be a transparent policy unless we do that. And they said that would jumpstart things for us.
So are you saying, Jonathan, that these right here are vetted and approved? If we want to go sell these tomorrow, we could?
Yeah, that's what we've talked about. These particular 10, we could pull out of the program and use the policy that you guys have already approved through the real estate agents.
But
Okay, and
Now, here's the thing, though.
where does that
It-
money go?
And here's, it would go back into housing.
Okay?
And then we could use that. However, but it would start the process. I sense that
I'm
some of
fine
you
with
want us
that
to
if we-
start getting rid of parcels. So that's what
Yeah.
we're trying to provide a small start to a bigger issue with
This
10
accommodated
specific. Yeah.
everyone is what we.
Correct. We're trying to
come up with.
accommodate everyone, yes.
But am I the only one that's gone and talked back to the Florida Housing Corporation after that meeting? I've done some investigating, and they stand fast on doing it right from the beginning. And I'll be more than happy to get him online and talk to him, but without having a clear understanding of what you're going to do from affordability and having a process. Remember my unsolicited offer framework, similar thing. If they're telling me that from an affordability standpoint, you put it out there without any stopgaps, you're not going to sell those for affordability at all.
And that's why I think the price per square foot is the way to go.
But that lot is going to cost too much, is the problem.
Maybe, maybe not. I mean,
Oh, I see, someone's gonna say, okay.
give it to them
But
if they're going to build it
But I
affordably.
think that's the thing, is we're willing to give away these lots.
Okay, so we don't give it to them, it's going to cost too much, is it price? We just had 3 ideas right there, and that's not a way to get rid of
So
something.
what's the criteria for giving it away then?
You build it below $200,000 and it's a primary residence and you're going to be there for 5 years.
But giving it away, you're not generating any money back for the program. And, some of these lots, builders are ready to swoop them up, of course, because, where are you going to get a lot for $10,000, which some of these are? Where are you going to find one for $15,000? It's going to benefit the end user, our client, more if we continue like we're doing with infill. The lot is sold to the builder, and we get that money back at the sale,
So
when the home is completed.
There's 2 competing ideas here. One is how do we make a sustainable department? And the other is how do we get affordable housing? And what I'm communicating is, look, it shouldn't matter to us whether we receive money back. We shouldn't make money off of builders if they're solving our
That might not be
affordable
possible to build
housing.
something affordable.
How about this? Let's get that guy that says he can build for that cheap, let's give him a lot. Let's charge him, let's see what he can really do.
Yes.
Because he's paying minimum of $8,500 over in Glenwood right now, and he's selling for $225,000. If we give it to him, can he sell it for $195,000?
How do we decide who to give it to?
Well, the guy that said that Josh is hanging his hat on, because I know you're talking about Tool Time guy. And
There's
if we
several
can
that
do
can
that,
do that.
then let's do that.
But we just pick somebody and give it to them?
No, but
put it on
I'd
the
like to
market
see
for
a
that price,
proof that
or-
that can be done, because I don't think it can be done.
And who do we sell it to at the
I don't
end?
know.
No, we're not buying, it's
Are
the
we
private
just-
builder that's
No,
doing
the
it
guy
for
that was
me.
at the housing.
Right, I remember.
That guy.
I get it, but we just said give them the lot.
Give them
So
the lot
following that
to
train of
communicate,
thought.
to build for a certain price, under a certain price per square foot. If you can build it cheaper, then yeah, you're going to get a lot. That's how they compete.
And remember, the builder's got to make some money. There's a risk there, and they've got to be paid for that risk. And it's going to be less. These houses have a smaller margin, but if you give them the lot or do something cheaper, it helps them.
And to give
I
them
would
the
just
lot,
say-
they require.
So
I would just
guess
say
my
I
problem
caution-
is that the proposed timeline for a process is like June into May
For
for the process of
the land disposition, we are probably going to be June.
Yeah,
because
that's too
it-
long for me. I think this is literally someone sits down in 30 hours. I mean, it's almost like.
to get the policy
Talk to me
totally in
about
place.
why is that too long? And if
Because
ultimately we want
this
to
is
get
not new. This is not a new thing that even a consultant, this is not, oh my gosh, we're the first city that needs to get rid of land. They're going to take what they did it somewhere else, they're going to copy and paste it, put our name on it, and they're going to change up a couple paragraphs. It's not someone working for 60 days just typing away. It's literally probably 20 hours of work. You go to another city.
And if we-
Well, with the land disposition policy, I mean, I've been working on this for about a little over a month with Florida Housing right now, and it does take, you have to evaluate every parcel to see whether there's anything that needs to be mitigated. It's just not,
No,
we're
I'm talking
throwing,
about selling the lots, not talking
Oh,
about
okay.
wetlands. I want a program that selling and getting rid of lots. I don't want them telling me, build a 3-bedroom here and this has got wetlands. This is a program to pick the right builders to get us the goal that we're looking for. I don't need a program that says, paint them blue and this one should be hardy board and all of that.
But if builders were building affordable housing, we wouldn't be
Right.
here talking about this now. We have
yeah.
a great percentage of our population who need housing. And builders are building for the market and our average market prices, and yet we have many people who can't afford that. And that's why
Correct.
it's important to me that these public properties go to address a public issue. We want to take just 10 of them and say, hey, put those on the market, and we've got
Then we should
50,
take-
75 over here that we're going to keep and work on the problem of nipping away at the more than 3,000 affordable housing units we need in the city of Panama City.
Correct. So to Robbie's, Commissioner Hughes' point, a board costs the same wherever you stick it in the ground, and concrete costs the same wherever you pour it into the ground. And the only way you make things more affordable is you could give them the land or cheapen the land, or building permits or impact fees, those kinds of things. That's the only way you bring down the cost, unless we open up our own lumber mill. That's the only way we bring down the cost. I mean, to me, there's a handful of people that do incredible program. Habitat for Humanity, it's hard to argue against that program, and we should be working with them more hand in hand. I am not in favor of Florida Housing Coalition or whoever's telling us what we should build. That's up to the market, in my opinion, especially if they're fronting their money and doing it and holding costs and all those sort of things. I want to see something stood up faster than June. I think that's a long time. I think we can break this into smaller bite-sized pieces and move forward with a handful. Maybe it's Habitat. I think the program does work. 10 houses, great. I want to see 40 in the next year, right? And the only way we do that is when we partner with people.
You've opened many businesses, and you took time to research them, and when you had your plan ready, you went. With this, same thing, especially if we want to keep affordability at
Yes.
the forefront.
So 1 year ago, when I got elected, I presented the Spark program and said, here's a way to drive down the price of this thing that's based on research from other places. And, it's like, again, it's like throwing ideas into a black hole with this organization. I presented a way. That's something a consultant would have charged you $40,000 for. I did all the work. So I'm at a point, I'm kind of tired of presenting ideas that just kind of get gobbled up in the machine and we keep moving forward. I want to see us sell some things and get some things going. And that's why I asked for this from staff. Find us properties that we can get going, that are low barrier to entry, that don't require a lot of conversation, just get the ball rolling.
Well, the
And
ones
that's
that
what
we
they've done.
gave you are the ones that we feel like the larger lots that we could move on.
Yeah, so
That I can support those fully right now, just put them on the open market and just go.
I
So-
contend that if we go on the open market, we are not concerned about affordability.
I agree with you, but I've also provided several options for addressing that, but that doesn't seem to be something that we've been able to get to. And so I think at this point, it is, let's move forward, and maybe with that momentum, we can continue to build on that, if that makes sense.
Well, if we start out with the open market, we're not building on affordability. without
Okay, if you
the-
put those
the
out there-
criteria.
I actually agree with you, but I don't know why it takes a year to determine we need affordable housing and we should focus on selling lots to things, and when people are communicating they can build on something, that we should move forward with that. I don't think it should take a year to get there.
So you could sell that open market with a restriction of no investors, but don't put a square footage or price. The market's going to determine what it sells for. If we say you've got to sell below 200, government doesn't set that. But if we give them the lot, that's how we are helping it get below 200 to your goal,
Here's the
okay?
reality, we sell it for market, it's going back into housing anyway, so we still have the same problem to solve. The money that this is recouped from this goes right back into housing, and we still have an affordability issue, but we've got a little bit more money to work with, we have some cash. Now, I think the biggest thing that would change everything for affordability is by restricting and doing what we're talking about by saying, build affordably on these lots and we will give you the land. That is far more valuable than a little bit more cash in the account, because guess what's going to happen? People are going to build to that price point because they get free land in the process.
So I'm not in favor of putting it on the open market. If we are going to direct staff to bring us a way to put it out there and get affordable housing out of a process that's quicker, I'm willing to entertain that. But to go on the open market when we know that's not addressing the problem we say we want to address, that's not.
Then I think we
Well,
can put
let's give
these.
it to
we
next
can put-
meeting.
We can put these out and say, we want affordable housing options from the public on these and entertain offers of what, during a
That's
time
good too.
period. Could we not do that?
Now that makes sense.
I like that, that's great.
To listen for.
This is we're entertaining full market
Can I,
price
can I
down to
give you all
zero.
that at the next meeting? Give you those prices, and it's 2 weeks.
Well,
Well, if we
Right now,
sell
we
them
don't
through the
have-
real estate, I mean, that they would make the offer, we would bring them back to y'all to consider. So anything, any offer, any contract, we would bring it back for y'all to approve, just to be clear.
And once
They have
we
to
sell
set
it,
pricing first, do a CMA.
Mr. Zimmerman, could you bring us a contract to also consider that would build in affordability?
Of course.
In 2 weeks? Whatever they're asking for with a parallel affordability agreement to it. Because
Yes,
if that's
I-
what we're doing, that's what we're doing. If we're just putting it on the open market, that's different.
I sense there's a couple of different directions that are being talked about here, but let me just try to summarize it. It may or may not be helpful. But one approach is to use the land that the city owns to build affordable homes on that land. Okay, another approach is to use the land that the city owns, these 10 lots, and sell them at the most money you can make, and then put that back into the housing to do in a different way affordable housing. I sense that there's been maybe a theme of, well, let's use this land to make it and build affordable homes on this land, and the amount of money that the city gets is not an issue. What the main issue is, how do we make sure that affordable homes are built on this land? So it's not putting it on the quote open market, it's more like a request for proposals from people from builders that would build, however we describe it, affordable homes on that piece of property, would have an agreement where they would agree to do that, would probably have restrictive covenants where they would be required to do that. And then it's not a high price or low price, it is more of a qualification. This builder has experience, this builder has done it before, this builder will deliver a house for $225,000 or whatever the number is. And then this builder, that's an idea. And I sense that maybe
If I
there's.
Oh, please. He's awake.
Hi. St. Petersburg has a affordable housing disposition program that is almost exactly what you just described, where
Somebody's done this before?
imagine that they submit out an RFP. The RFP includes criteria by which that the people are, or not people, the developers are selected, and the city commission or council decides what properties go on to that disposition. And then there's a bunch of requirements that get attached to that property so that it remains affordable. Gainesville has the other one where they just sell everything and then it goes back into the program. And then the program then churns the dollars. So what I would suggest is that staff goes back and just looks at other cities in the state of Florida and comes up with options for us. I think that would be best.
And I just want progress, whether it's
That's where I'm at in
P3s, whether
this.
it's affordable
No.
housing, whether it's selling things in the market, I just want to see us moving.
I do agree, though, with Commissioner Hughes. It's a record tonight, actually, I think. That's what, 5 times tonight?
How about that? Yeah.
No, it's, I do agree, though, that we need to have a process, otherwise staff is just going to feel that they're spinning their wheels and we're kind of not fulfilling the will of the commission. So if we can agree on a process and what that process looks like to some degree, and again, it doesn't have to be on every property. It can be on just properties that are smaller than an acre. But what does that process look
So
like?
you said 2 weeks, is that a motion for something?
I think that, yeah, we could get that back next meeting.
I sense also that you might want to look at an option of, if you sold all these properties, what would that bring? And I know that Commissioner Hughes is looking at the
Put it to work.
inventory. So that might be helpful.
Put it right back in restricted and
also.
purchase assistance.
But I would suggest that that would be a secondary item to the first one, which the first one would be the disposition of if we sell it. I mean,
Look, I've been waiting this long, 2 weeks ain't gonna hurt my feelings at all. So let's,
I motion that staff brings us back multiple options based on what other cities in the state of Florida are doing within 2 weeks on options for disposition.
second.
Any discussion?
Call the roll, please.
Oh, yeah.
Please call the roll.
Commissioner Street?
Yes.
Commissioner Hughes?
Yes.
Commissioner Lucas?
Yes.
Commissioner Granger?
Yes.
Mayor Branch?
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
Motion to adjourn?
Second.
Please call the roll.
Commissioner Street?
Yes.
Commissioner Hughes?
Yes.
Commissioner Lucas?
Yes.
Commissioner Granger?
Yes.
Mayor Branch?
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
Thank you for the time.